Chapter 76. Sister Honglian cried out like a pig being slaughtered all night. Shundong and Zhou Honglian had an open-hearted talk that started around 10 in the evening and continued until 1 in the morning, with several rounds. Shundong was finally satisfied. As for Zhou Honglian, she was equally satisfied, to the point that it was hard for her to walk. During this time, Shundong fabricated a lie, claiming he had a dream about Jiang Dapeng, in which he urged them to speed up the process so that Zhou Honglian could get pregnant. That way, he could rest in peace underground. Zhou Honglian seriously stated that Jiang Dapeng's last words were the same. He hoped they would hurry to have a child, so they could say the first child was Jiang Dapeng's. This was also why, just a few days after Jiang Dapeng's death, she was willing to be with Shundong. After all, it was Jiang Dapeng's wish. Shundong expressed his understanding. As the deceased should be respected, they had to fulfill Jiang Dapeng's last wish. Then, he and Zhou Honglian engaged in various activities, mainly with him as the leader. Although Zhou Honglian seemed a bit flirtatious, she was also new to being a woman. However, she was very proactive. Her singing voice was a soprano, adept at dolphin sounds, and her figure was quite graceful. Sister Honglian, you can just stay here in peace. If you need anything, just tell me, and I can buy it for you in town or the county. When you have free time, you can go to town with Su Yun to shop. If you see something you like, just buy it. Shundong embraced Zhou Honglian and smiled at her figure. In the previous 2 times, due to time constraints and the darkness, he hadn't been able to appreciate her full form. But today, under the flickering candlelight, her body was fully admired by Shundong. It was truly stunning. Okay, since you said so, whatever I want to buy, my mouth is very picky, Zhou Honglian said with a smile, swaying her body occasionally while speaking. Shundong kissed her and then grinned. How is your mouth picky? Zhou Honglian, hearing his insinuation, spat playfully and pushed him. All right, go sleep with Xiaoyan. Shundong was pushed off the bed, and as he dressed, he grumbled, Sister Honglian, I didn't expect you to be this kind of woman. Just finished with me, and you're already complaining. Zhou Honglian wrapped her arms around her chest, suppressing her laughter, and swayed slightly as she said, Yes, I'm complaining about you. Hurry up and leave. The next moment, she pretended to plead, using a tone of entreaty, You stinky man. Hurry up and go. I still have to work tomorrow. If you don't leave, I'm afraid I won't be able to get out of bed tomorrow. She then let out a series of melodious giggles. Sister, you're really flirtatious. Shundong returned to the room he shared with Su Yun and crawled into bed, hugging Su Yun from behind. Su Yun turned around and whispered, Master, why didn't you sleep with Sister Honglian? Shundong laughed. If I don't hold you while sleeping, I won't be able to sleep at night. In the dark, Su Yun pouted her lips like a goldfish blowing bubbles, not believing him. Shundong held her and placed his hand on her belly, chuckling, Wife, why don't you believe what I say? Aren't I sleeping with you? Sister Honglian is really flirtatious, crying out like a pig being slaughtered. Luckily, our house isn't next to theirs. Otherwise, if others heard, they might think we were slaughtering pigs at midnight. Su Yun teased, her face slightly flushed. Shundong's forehead broke out in sweat. Then he grinned. Yes, Sister Honglian is really too flirtatious. Wife, you don't understand. I find her like this quite exciting. Unlike you, who is so reserved. On Zhou Honglian's side, after Shundong left, she put on her clothes, thinking about what had happened with Shundong. Feeling a joy and happiness she couldn't describe. This feeling made her happy. If she compared Shundong to the men she heard her sisters discussing before, he was simply a beast. Thinking about the future, she was full of anticipation. As for any titles, she hadn't thought about needing any identity when she accepted this situation. Shundong told her that the 2 of them shouldn't farm anymore, as farming didn't earn much money and was tiring. Su Yun was waiting to have a baby, and she was too. They were both preparing to have children now. As for Shundong, he couldn't always hunt. He couldn't keep them worrying about him. Once they saved enough money, they would move to the county to live. Many people were starting small businesses now, and they could also start a business. Zhou Honglian had no objections to what Shundong said. She also felt farming was pointless. And with more and more people doing business, they could too. Of course, since she entered this family, the direction of the family would naturally be led by Shundong. Fortunately, Shundong seemed very mature and responsible. After all this tossing and turning, she quickly fell asleep in bed. A night passed without incident. Early in the morning, just as the sky was getting light, Shundong got up, took the bear meat that had been marinated, and placed it in a large basin. Then tied the basin with a rope. The fresh meat weighed about 160 to 170 pounds, and after marinating, it was about 120 to 130 pounds. It was quite good if a pound of bear meat left 7 ounces after marinating. The large basin was filled with around 100 pounds of meat. Chen Dong planned to give some to his parents, and they would distribute some to his elder and second sisters-in-law. He would also give some to Uncle Yu and Air Mao's father, and let his father deliver some to De Fei, as he wouldn't personally go to deliver it. De Fei was now working at a textile factory in the city. In his past life, he had helped Chen Dong a lot, so this favor couldn't be forgotten. Bear meat had to be marinated. Selling fresh meat generally didn't attract buyers, unless it was bought in bulk, mainly because bear meat had to be marinated or stewed. It needed a long cooking time. In terms of price, it was about the same as marinated pork. Chen Dong had already made noodle soup with the meat broth, adding a drop of spring water, and took 2 bowls to send to his parents, leaving the rest for Su Yun and Zhou Honglian to drink to enhance their health. In the future, they could send some soup to his parents as well. Sister Honglian, why are you up so early? Don't you want to rest a bit? Chen Dong saw Zhou Honglian walking out a bit unsteadily and immediately spoke. Zhou Honglian shook her head and smiled. I saw you were going to sell meat early, so I discussed it with Xiaoyan last night. I'm getting up early today to accompany you to sell. Chen Dong laughed. You can't even walk properly. What are you going for? I can sell it myself. Zhou Honglian then irritably spat. I sent it because of you. Chen Dong chuckled. Sister Honglian, you can't blame it all on me. This is our thing. Zhou Honglian's face turned slightly red as she playfully twisted Chen Dong's arm. Don't say it, don't say it. I'm fine, don't worry. Chen Dong quickly said, Sister Honglian, you must be hungry, right? I was hungry earlier too. So I used the leftover broth from boiling the meat to make some noodle soup. Why don't you have a sip of soup and eat some meat to fill your stomach? As he spoke, he enthusiastically served Zhou Honglian a bowl of noodle soup. Bear meat is very nutritious, and the essence is all in the soup. When Chen Dong took the initiative to serve a bowl of bear meat soup, Zhou Honglian naturally couldn't refuse. After brushing her teeth and washing her face, she picked up the bowl and started drinking. Soon, she felt an indescribable comfort as the soup entered her body, and even her pain seemed to lessen. Chen Dong smiled and asked, How does this bear meat soup taste? It's really nourishing. I feel very comfortable after drinking it. Zhou Honglian nodded and smiled. Chen Dong chuckled. It must be nourishing. Would I lie to you? The effect of the spiritual spring water is undeniable. Even though there's only a drop in this pot of soup, it still has a certain effect. The dogs, including Da Huang, were sitting at the door, tilting their heads and watching Zhou Honglian drink the soup, wagging their tails and making soft sounds. Do you guys want some meat soup too? All right, I'll give you some, Zhou Honglian said as she took a small bowl filled with soup and poured a large amount into the dog bowl. However, the dogs just sniffed the aroma and then lined up again, sitting at the door, tilting their heads and wagging their tails. Didn't you want to drink the meat soup? I gave it to you, but now you want to drink it, Zhou Honglian said irritably. Chen Dong shook his head and smiled. Sister Honglian, don't mind them. They're just greedy after eating meat these days. Da Huang, tell them that no one is allowed to run into the kitchen and steal my soup, or else I won't give anyone good food in the future. Sister Honglian, these dogs are clever. What they want is the meat soup mixed with spiritual spring water. He went out to the village to sell bear meat, tapping a stick along the way until he arrived at the village courtyard in front of the stone mill, parked the vehicle, and waited for people from the village to come buy meat. Soon, someone came to buy meat. 1 pound of marinated bear meat was priced at 1.2 yuan per pound. After an hour, he sold about 20 pounds. Xiao Wu, your marinated bear meat smells good. Even at night, I can smell it. Give me a few pounds. The fertilizer has already arrived, and I'll arrange it for your family early. A young man with a side part and a casual tone walked over. Chen Dong was quite displeased with what the man said, feeling a strong impulse to slap him. Donglian, bear meat is 1.2 yuan per pound. How many pounds do you want? After hearing the man's words, Chen Dong replied directly. Chen Donglian was the son of the village head, Chen Sanming. Years ago, Chen Sanming was the captain of the production team. A few years ago, as educated youth began to return to the countryside, the structure of the production team started to change, and Chen Sanming was elected as the village head. During his years as village head, he often did things that made him seem like he was wielding authority with a chicken feather as a command. His family was given better plots of land. He contracted the village's 100-acre orchard to his elder brother at a very low price. Where there is bullying, there are also its children. Chen Donglian was now the village's liaison officer, relying on his father being the village head to act arrogantly in the village. Moreover, he was also the cousin of Chen Dongqing. Chen Dongqing's father was Chen Sanming's second brother. Years ago, His parents went into the mountains to gather wild goods and happened to encounter a thunderstorm. They thought they could take shelter from the rain, but were unexpectedly struck by lightning on a nearby iron-rich rock, and both died. Chen Saming took care of Chen Dongxing for several years. Xiao Wu, I'll arrange fertilizer for your family early. I'm eating a few pounds of your meat. And you still ask me for money? Isn't that a bit unreasonable? Chen Donglian said in a displeased tone. A few people nearby remained silent, their expressions somewhat strange. Chen Dong replied, Donglian, what you're saying is a bit unreasonable. It's only natural to pay for things. I sell meat, and if you want to eat it, giving me money is reasonable, right? I'm not running a big business. It's a small operation. You can't expect to eat my meat for free. As for the fertilizer, that's what the grain station and agricultural bureau allocated for the common folk. Every household gets it. You can't use the fertilizer distribution as an excuse to demand free meat from me, right? You want to eat my meat? Not a chance. If you spoke nicely to me, I wouldn't mind giving you a pound or two. But you're threatening me with the fertilizer issue. I'm not here to serve you. While speaking, he gestured to Zhou Honglian, signaling her not to interrupt and let him handle the situation. Zhou Honglian, being from another village, would easily become a target for gossip if she spoke up. After all, she wasn't from this village and had no right to comment on its people. Besides, Chen Dong was not the kind of man who needed a woman to defend him. Chen Donglian's face turned unnatural from being scolded, and he said irritably, Is it just a few pounds of meat? Why so much nonsense? If you give it, fine. If not, then don't. Why all this talk? Saying this in front of so many people made Chen Donglian feel a bit embarrassed. Chen Dong shook his head. Donglian, it's not me dragging this out. It's you who brought this up. You want to eat my meat and are using the fertilizer issue against me. If you say it like that, how can I give you meat? We Northeasterners are all tough men. Do you think what you're saying is funny? With the money I've earned now, buying fertilizer from the supply and marketing cooperative isn't a big deal. Besides, the fertilizer provided by the state has to be paid back with grain after the autumn harvest. State-provided fertilizer isn't free. You are deliberately trying to find fault by wanting to eat my meat for free. Are you trying to take revenge for your cousin Chen? Chen Dong's words directly cornered Chen Donglian, who coldly snorted, You're right. I do want to vent for my cousin Chung. You brat have hit my cousin Chung twice. Do you really think our family is easy to bully? In fact, he only wanted to eat a few pounds of marinated bear meat for free. However, after being scolded by Chen Dong, he felt embarrassed and couldn't firmly assert his threat about the fertilizer. With so many people watching, how would the villagers view him? Threatening others with fertilizer distribution is not the way to go. So, he used the fact that Chen Dong hit Chen Dongcheng as an excuse. The key was that using fertilizer to threaten Chen Dong was indeed ineffective. Chen Dong had money and could buy fertilizer himself. The fertilizer distributed by the state was not free either. It had to be repaid with grain after the harvest. Chen Dong secretly laughed to himself. What a fool. I'm just waiting to dig a pit for you to jump into. Donglian, what you said is a bit bullying. Everyone come and judge this. The village head's family is unreasonable, relying on his father being the village head to bully the common folk. I did hit Chung, but there was a reason for it. Those who want to know will definitely know why I hit him. And Chung hasn't said a word about it. He knows he deserves to be hit, but his cousin wants to take it out on me. Is there still justice? Is there still law? Chen Dong shouted indignantly. Then he passionately continued, Chen Donglian, don't think that just because your father is the village head, you're so powerful. You're nothing. Do you really think my family has no one? My brother-in-law is the director of the food factory in the county. My uncle is a big leader at Hongxing Forest Farm. I have 2 cousins in the army. Who is afraid of whom? Come on. Don't you want to take revenge for your cousin? If you have the guts, hit me. If you're afraid to hit me, then you're a coward. Chen Dong deliberately leaned his face closer to Chen Donglian. Chen Donglian was furious and directly raised his hand, wanting to slap him in the face. Being scolded by Chen Dong, he not only didn't get angry, but also blamed him. When he reached out to slap Chen Dong sidestepped and avoided the slap, then grabbed his arm. Immediately after, he elbowed Chen Donglian in the chest, causing Chen Donglian to stagger back 2 steps and sit down on the ground, crying out in pain. Before he could react, Chen Dong stepped forward and kicked him in the chest, knocking him to the ground. He followed up with several kicks while seemingly very angry, shouting, You dared to hit me first. You bully the common people just because your father is the village head. Your father has already caused enough suffering in our village. Just wait and see. Someone will report your father soon. You and your father might end up in jail. I have a good reason to hit you. I'm a social person. When Chen Donglian opened his mouth to ask him for bear meat, and threatened him with fertilizer. Shindong thought about dealing with him. Having been reborn with a golden finger like the spirit spring space, how could he tolerate such nonsense? Just deal with him. Not only would he beat him up, but he would also make his father come personally to apologize to Shindong. Just the few words Shindong shouted could scare his father enough. Chun Liuzhuang has long suffered from Chun Sanming, the village head. Now that Shindong has taken action, perhaps someone really would go to report Chun Sanming. In the past, no one dared to speak out against Chun Sanming publicly. They could only swallow their anger. And now, with Shindong igniting the fire, a single spark can start a prairie fire. In fact, Shindong had a deeper meaning. He wanted to kill Chen Dongqing, especially after Chen Dongqing pointed a gun at him. In Shindong's heart, he had already marked him. He believed that after beating Chen Donglian and scaring him, Chun Sanming would definitely come to apologize, asking him to speak well of him in the village, while Shindong pretended to speak well of him. Then he would pretend to forgive Chen Dongqing and Chen Donglian, and when the time came to get rid of Chen Dongqing, he would disappear without a trace. Even if others suspected it, they wouldn't suspect him, but rather those who had grievances with Chen Dongqing in the village. Chapter 78. Did they really come to apologize? Xiao Wu, stop hitting, stop hitting. We're all from the same village, don't fight anymore. Xiao Wu, all right, don't hit anymore. Xiao Wu, stop, Delian. You stop too, stop. There were many onlookers around the stone mill who rushed forward to hold Shindong back, and Chen Donglian was also helped up. Chen Donglian, who was helped up, had both of his cheeks swollen. As he was being pulled by several people, he struggled hard to break free from their grasp, angrily shouting, "Don't hold me back. Let me deal with this kid who dared to hit me. I see you're simply tired of living. What is wrong with me hitting you? You were the one who started it first. You even threatened me with fertilizer, trying to take advantage of me." Shindong shouted, pointing at Chen Donglian. You're talking nonsense. How did my father and I bully others? And how did we pocket the village's collective property? Let everyone judge. After being labeled with such a big hat by Shindong, Chen Donglian's confidence weakened, and he pointed at the crowd asking for their opinion. After being kicked by Shindong, his head was buzzing. Reporting to the police? It seemed he was the one who started it first. Besides, if Shindong really reported them, some of the things his father did might not hold up. The crowd didn't respond to Chen Donglian's words, making him feel a bit awkward. No villagers supported him. Shindong then sarcastically said, Look, everyone knows your father and son's true colors. Do you think no one knows? I bet even without me reporting, someone in the village will report you sooner or later. Haha, Chen Donglian, you little brat. What do you know? Asking everyone for their opinion, and no one responds is weird. If someone responds, they become the target. Shindong added, Do you understand the art of conversation? I'll play you to death. The crowd didn't respond to Shindong's words, but to Chen Donglian. It seemed everyone was tacitly agreeing with Shindong. He was panicking inside. An elder from Chen Donglian's family pulled him away, giving him a way out. Xiao Wu, your temper is too explosive. How did you end up fighting with him? Someone shook their head and said. Shindong replied, Second uncle, you can't blame me. He was looking for trouble under the pretext of avenging his brother, and he started it first. This matter really can't be blamed on Xiao Wu. Donglian was deliberately looking for trouble and started it first. Someone defended Shindong. They're not good people, Xiao Wu. I'm afraid they will make things difficult for you. Someone told Shindong. Yes, Xiao Wu, everyone knows about this. Why did you have to bring it to light? Isn't that offending them? Shindong, with the indignation of a middle school student, said, I'm afraid of them? If they dare target me, I'll beat them up again next time. Time was almost up, and Shindong pushed the bicycle home, while Zhou Honglian frowned and said, Shindong, how did you end up fighting with him? His father is the village head. If other villagers hear about this, his father is not a good person. Aren't you afraid they'll target you? They won't target me for a short time. Not only will they not target me, but soon they will come to our house to apologize, believe it or not. Shindong raised his eyebrows, confidently saying. Zhou Honglian shook her head. I don't believe it. You hit him. How could he come to our house to apologize? That's impossible. Shindong chuckled mischievously. How about we make a bet? A bet? What are we betting on? Zhou Honglian squinted and asked with a smile. Seeing no one around, Shindong whispered what they were betting on. Upon hearing Shindong, Zhou Honglian's face turned slightly red, and she spat. You bad egg. Do you believe I'll make you a eunuch? Shindong raised his eyebrows and grinned. Then Honglian, what kind do you like? Tell me your conditions. Zhou Honglian was not at all pretentious and simply stated her conditions. Shindong chuckled. Honglian, you're so bold. She actually liked riding a bike. And it was the standing type. Soon, The two returned home, and Dong asked if Su Yun had drunk the meat soup made with noodles. After receiving a positive answer from Su Yun, Dong felt relieved. Regarding the effects of the spirit spring water, he had already experimented with other animals. It had a very good healing effect on injuries. As for pregnant animals, he had also tested it. The pregnant wolf dog from Ermao's family was given 2 drops of spirit spring water, and it seemed fine. The female cat raised by his parents was also pregnant, and he had given it spirit spring water twice without any issues. The kittens and puppies were also fine. The children should also be fine. Additionally, based on what he understood about the spirit spring water, it only had side effects when taken in excess. And diluted spirit spring water had no side effects on the body. Just as Dong was about to carry a small basin of meat noodle soup to his parents, he saw a man in his 50s wearing a black imitation Zhongshan suit, along with Donglian, whose face was as swollen as a steamed bun, following behind him. As they entered the yard, a group of dogs barked loudly, startling both of them. Dong scolded the dog to stop barking and asked, "Third uncle, what brings you here?" The middle-aged man quickly stepped forward and said kindly, "Xiao Wu, I'm here to bring you an apology from your brother Donglian. What he did to you this morning was indeed not very manly. I hope you can let it go, considering we are all from the same village." Standing at the entrance of the main room, Zhou Honglian was astonished, her mouth agape, as if she could fit an egg in it. They really came to apologize? And he actually guessed it right. Chapter 79. Life is like a play, it all depends on acting. The visitor was none other than Qin Sanming, the village chief of Qinlu Tan. He actually brought his son Qin Donglian to apologize to Dong. This left Zhou Honglian both surprised and impressed by Dong. He really guessed it right. But wait, could it be that from the moment he hit Donglian, he anticipated that he would come to apologize? Thinking of this, Zhou Honglian recalled how Dong had single-handedly faced several people from Wangzhuang, beating them up and scolding them. In the end, Wang Kuan-yu even knelt down to apologize. Even those people from Wangzhuang ended up apologizing. Today, he beat up Donglian, and now the village chief personally came to apologize. This made Zhou Honglian feel a chill of fear regarding his cunning. "Donglian, what are you dawdling for? Hurry up and apologize to Xiao Wu. You know what you did, trying to take the lead for others. Do you think I don't know about your brother Dongqing? He deserved to be hit." Qin Sanming pulled Donglian's arm, sternly demanding that he apologize to Dong. With an unwilling expression, Donglian said, "Xiao Wu, I was indeed wrong earlier. I apologize to you and hope you won't hold it against me." Just now, after returning home, he had angrily told Qin Sanming about how Dong had beaten him up, hoping that Qin Sanming would help him deal with Dong. An elder of the family who brought Donglian home briefly explained the situation to Qin Sanming, saying they were considering how to prevent Dong's matter from escalating. Many villagers had witnessed the incident, and judging by their reactions, they seemed resentful towards Qin Sanming. Now that Dong was leading the charge, there was no telling what villagers might say during any undercover investigations. This morning, Dong was going to the county to sell braised bear meat. If he really went to report to the police, it could cause trouble for Qin Sanming, who was the village chief. Dong had a good relationship with Ermao, whose brother-in-law was a squad leader in the police station. Upon hearing this, Qin Sanming felt a bit intimidated. Donglian, however, was dismissive, saying he didn't believe Dong would actually dare to report to the police. After being scolded by Qin Sanming, he realized he didn't understand the seriousness of the situation. What was he trying to prove by stepping up for Dongqing? He had already been beaten by Dong. Wasn't that embarrassing enough? Dong's family had some standing. His sister's husband was the director of a food factory, and his uncle had once been the director of the Hongxing forest farm. It was quite possible that Dong would indeed report to the police. Then Qin Sanming took Donglian to apologize to Dong. "Third uncle, you want Donglian to apologize to me? I can't bear that. After all, I'm just an ordinary commoner, and you're the village chief. The villagers are counting on you to lead them to prosperity," Dong said sarcastically. "Apologizing doesn't mean I will forgive you. Besides, you're not sincerely apologizing. You're just afraid I will report you to the police." "Xiao Wu, about the fertilizer. I will arrange it for your family right away, so it won't delay your crops. And your father wanted to rent our village's collective orchard last year, right? I discussed it with your uncle, and we can rent it to your father for $300 a year, just like last year's rent. What do you think?" Qin Sanming said in a negotiating tone. Dong quickly replied, "Third uncle, that's not good. My father really wants to rent that orchard. But if my uncle rents it to him, won't he have objections? That's not good. That's not good." Dong shook his head. The village collective orchard was on the hillside at the east end of the village, quite close to his father's house, covering more than 130 acres, mainly planted with peach, pear, apple, and hawthorn trees. Before the land was divided, his father had been assigned to take care of the orchard for many years and had developed a strong attachment to those fruit trees. In fact, many of the trees were nurtured and grown by his father. His father thought that given his years of care for the orchard, renting it wouldn't be a problem. And he even planned to provide Chun Dong with a source of income besides farming. If the harvest was good, they could make several $100 after costs, which was not worse than working in a county office. However, the orchard had been rented out to Chun Sanming's brother, Chun Demo. The key was that the annual rent was only $300. That meant just over $2 per acre. This made his father furious. He went days without eating, sulking and cursing Chun Sanming's entire family. Later, he learned that while the orchard seemed to be rented to Chun Demo, it was actually Chun Sanming who had invested in it, taking a share of the profits. This led many villagers to secretly curse Chun Sanming. There is nothing wrong with this. Your father has been taking care of the orchard for years. He has much more experience than your uncle. This year, the fruit trees look like they will blossom a lot. If well taken care of, it will surely be a bumper harvest. Of course, the premise is to find an experienced person to take care of it. Chun Sanming laughed. Chun Dong pretended to test him, saying, "Third uncle, then you can come with me to talk to my father about renting the orchard and sign the sublease contract." Chun Sanming's mouth twitched slightly. He wanted to say, "My dear nephew, are you really this pragmatic?" If Chun Dong knew what Chun Sanming was thinking, he would dare to say, "Yes, third uncle, I am this pragmatic. All right, I can go with you to talk to your father about the orchard sublease. But you must promise me one thing. Don't go stirring things up at the police station. Our families have been neighbors for generations. It wouldn't be good to involve the police," Chun Sanming said with an unnatural expression. Chun Dong scratched his head and laughed. "Third uncle, I understand. I was just trying to scare Dong Lian. I had no intention of reporting to the police. Besides, now that you've rented the orchard to my father, how could I possibly report to the police? We're all from the same village, right?" Now it was settled. His father could finally manage the orchard he had been dreaming about. "Oh, third uncle, don't blame me for being a bit straightforward." Chun Dong waved his hands repeatedly. He said this on purpose. After all, pretending to be deep and naive was even more deceptive. It made Chun Sanming think he was just a simpleton. Life is like a play. It all depends on acting. He didn't want to be constantly watched. Playing dumb was fine. After all, he didn't suffer any loss and even secured the orchard his father longed for. Perfect. Humph. Chun Donglian snorted from the side. Hearing Chun Dong's words, Chun Sanming's face darkened a bit, but he still gave Chun Dong a thumbs up, saying, "Us northeastern men are straightforward. It's better to speak plainly, pure men. Little 5, there's one more thing. After I sublet the orchard to your dad, you need to speak highly of me in the village, okay? It's not too hard, right?" Chun Sanming said. Chun Dong nodded. "I have to speak well of you, Uncle San. Not only will I speak well of you, but if anyone speaks ill of you, I'll stand up for you. How about that? I'll praise you to everyone. I'll praise you all day long. I don't believe no one will report you. If you get too many compliments, it might even make others resent you. Don't you just want to recruit me? Well, I'll pretend to cooperate with you. It doesn't stop me from stabbing you in the back. Donglian, don't you want to eat bear meat? Come, I'll give you a few pounds." Chun Dong laughed. Chun Donglian snorted. "I can't afford that." Chun Dong smiled and said, "Donglian, don't worry. This bear meat is a gift from me to you. Consider it my apology. I might have been a bit rough. Don't be mad. Mainly, you started it by hitting me first. I was angry, so I hit back a bit hard." Chun Donglian. Why does he feel that Chun Dong's apology makes his face burn with shame? When leaving Chun Dong's house, Chun Donglian carried a few pounds of marinated bear meat. However, looking at the bear meat, he wanted to eat it in the morning, thinking it was very fragrant. But now, he felt that the bear meat was not fragrant at all. After being kicked a few times and having the low-priced orchard rented out, he felt a pain in his heart. Soon, Chun Dong and Chun Sanming found their dad. After hearing that the orchard would be sublet to him for 300 yuan a year, for a total of 20 years, their dad's head buzzed. And he didn't quite understand what was going on. In the end, he signed the contract in a daze. After Chun Sanming left, their dad looked at the contract as if he were dreaming. "Little 5, what is going on? Did that bastard Chun Sanming get kicked in the head by a donkey? How could he give such a good thing to me? He can't be planning something, right?" Chapter 80. Evil must be met with evil. Yes. I am that evil person. He can't pull any tricks. He is the one who should be afraid of me pulling tricks. Chun Dong said with a smug smile. After signing the orchard contract, their dad looked much happier. After all, the orchard was his treasure. This made Chun Dong feel a sense of pride. In this life, being able to do something for his parents and honor them is really great. In his past life, he didn't give them a good send-off, and in this life, he must do it properly. May his parents live a long life. At this time, his mom leaned over, a bit curious, and asked, "Little Five, what trick did you use to make that bastard Chun Sanming willing to rent the orchard to our family?" She couldn't hide her happiness while speaking. This was for their dad's sake. Don't think she always chases their dad. She has always cared about him. Plus, they got such a big bargain. How could she not be happy? Chun Dong then talked about how he beat Chun Donglian up and shouted about reporting them to the police, which earned him a pinch on the ear from his mom, who scolded him fiercely. "Little Five, where did you learn to be so cunning?" Chun Dong grinned. "Mom, it hurts, don't twist it. You twist my ear all day long. It's almost going to come off. This can't be blamed on me. That guy was looking for trouble, and he hit me first. Should I just wait for him to beat me? Also, he relied on his dad being the village chief. So I had to bring out my brother-in-law and uncle to scare him, saying I would report him to the police. But the result is good. Now Dad is managing the orchard, which fulfills his wish. Dad, how do you feel now?" His mom was pinching Chun Dong's ear with one hand and hitting his back with the other, shaking her head and scolding. "You're so cunning. And you're still proud. That bastard Chun Sanming is the village chief. He has a relative in the county committee. Is our family someone we can mess with? What if he tries to target you again?" His mom spoke with concern. Compared to renting the orchard, as a mother, she was naturally more worried about her son's safety. Chun Dong shook his head dismissively. "What can we do? If he dares to deal with me, I'll fight back. I'm just an ordinary citizen. Those without shoes aren't afraid of those with shoes." In fact, Chun Dong really wasn't afraid of how Chun Sanming would scheme against him. When soldiers come, the general meets them. When water comes, the soil blocks it. And country folks don't have that much violence, unless they are extreme personalities. In this era, rural people are more scheming, but not too clever. Just like he wanted to deal with Chun Dongqing. Chun Dongqing only thought about teaching him a lesson, not about killing Chun Dong. That time, Chun Dongqing was just furious and aimed a gun at him. But he didn't dare to do anything to Chun Dong. Of course, just because he didn't dare to do anything to Chun Dong doesn't mean Chun Dong wouldn't do anything to him. The moment his gun was pointed at Chun Dong, it sealed his fate. Their dad reached out to pull their mom's hand away from Chun Dong's ear and said, "Shouts away." As the saying goes, evil must be met with evil. That bastard Chun Sanming is just a bully who fears the strong. Little Five scared him into renting the orchard to me. If Little Five had spoken nicely to them, they probably wouldn't know how to deal with him. In our village, if you're not tough, others will bully you. I think what Little Five did is fine. Chun Dong grinned. "Dad, are you praising me? But why do I feel like you're scolding me?" "Dad, have we really rented the orchard to Little Five's dad? That is several hundred, or even over 1,000 yuan a year." On the way home, Chun Donglian said somewhat unwillingly, then spoke in a negotiating tone. "Dad, should I find a few people to beat Little Five up while it's dark?" "Donglian, what are you thinking? Don't you think this is enough trouble? You want to find people to beat him? He has a gun, and there are usually a few dogs around him. Besides, can he not know we sent people to beat him? Also, what if he shoots and kills 1 or 2 people? Then we'll all be in trouble." Chun Sanming scolded sternly. Chun Donglian immediately became displeased. "I just feel like we've just rented the orchard, and it's being handed over so easily. It feels frustrating to think about." Chun Sanming coldly snorted. "You feel frustrated? If it weren't for you trying to be a hero and hitting someone first, forcing others to act, could so many things have happened? A gentleman takes revenge. 10 years is not too late. Just wait a few years and think of a way to get the orchard back. Our family isn't short of the money from a few years of orchard income." Chun Donglian said again, "Dad, I'm just afraid that Little Five is not honest. What if he plays dirty and reports you?" "Why would he report me? His dad just got the orchard, and if he reports me, wouldn't he be afraid of losing the orchard? Besides, Little Five looks like a straightforward person. He definitely won't report me after getting benefits." Chun Sanming, based on Chun Dong's performance, thought he had seen enough people and could read them well. He could see what kind of person Chun Dong was at a glance. "Chun Donglian, I'm actually just afraid that others will report you." Chun Sanming shook his head and smiled. "I just haven't told you, but there are a few people in our village who reported me to the town and county. The letters have been handed to me. If reporting were effective, I wouldn't have been able to keep being the village chief." Chun Donglian was still confused. "Dad, if that is the case, why are you afraid of being reported by Little Five?" Chun Sanming was taken aback when asked. then sternly reprimanded. Are you a toad? Asking so many questions? Why do you think I'm afraid of Xiao Wu reporting me? That kid is just a reckless one, very bold. The strong fear the reckless. And the reckless fear those who are desperate. He's a bit reckless lately. Just look at some of the things he has done. Quite daring. If he really reports us, it might be like a stubborn plaster chasing after us with complaints. And if we provoke him, what if he gives us each a bullet? What's more important, money or life? In the countryside, what can we do when we encounter someone so reckless and desperate? Just take a detour, right? Do we need to charge straight at them? Sister Honglian, you lost. When I come back, you better be ready to accept defeat. Don't worry. Besides doing what I've won, I'll also satisfy what you want. How about that? After returning home and telling Su Yun and Zhou Honglian about renting the orchard to his father, Chen Dong planned to go to the county town to sell bear meat and deliver bear paws to his brother-in-law. Seeing Su Yun busy in the yard, Chen Dong's hand mischievously rested on Zhou Honglian. Zhou Honglian smiled charmingly. Then I would be making a profit, right? You're not just making a profit. You're making a huge profit, double the happiness. After giving her a kiss, Chen Dong grinned mischievously. Sister, you're really flirtatious. But I really like it. Zhou Honglian wanted to ask Chen Dong how he figured out that Chen Donglian and his son would come to apologize to him. But after thinking it over, she decided against it. Considering Chen Dong's recent performance, she increasingly felt that this man was somewhat impressive. Of course, not just in terms of methods. He was also quite capable in other areas. Soon, Chen Dong arrived at the county town, first delivering the bear paws to his sister. The bear paws had been kept in the spiritual spring space the whole time, so they were well preserved. Chen Dong wasn't in a hurry to collect the money for the bear paws, saying he would wait until his brother-in-law's leader paid. And then his sister could give it to him. He had a few pounds of braised bear meat cut for his sister. She said she would buy 20 pounds for her friends to try. Chen Dong initially said he didn't want money, but his sister still stuffed it into his hands. She invited Chen Dong to come home for lunch, but he said he was eating out with someone else. After asking about Zhou Lanxin's class, Chen Dong planned to visit her after selling the bear meat. A day without seeing his sister-in-law and not hearing her chatter made him miss her quite a bit. Soon, around 10 o'clock, the remaining 60-odd pounds of braised bear meat were sold out. Together with the money from his sister, he made over 90 yuan, just under 100. He rode his bike to the vocational school entrance, looking forward to seeing his sister-in-law soon. Chapter 81, Sister-in-law. Brother-in-law, am I pretty? Brother-in-law, what brings you here? After class, Zhou Lanxin walked out of the classroom, and, upon seeing Chen Dong outside, her face lit up with joy. Chen Dong smiled. What's wrong? Is it not okay for me to come see you? TSK. His sister-in-law was wearing the denim outfit he bought for her today, with white sneakers. Her long hair styled into 2 neat braids, looking sunny and vibrant. With her tall figure, straight long legs, and slender neck, she looked beautiful. You must be here to sell something in the county town, right? Did you hunt something? Zhou Lanxin's beautiful eyes curved into crescents. One leg slightly bent while the other was raised, her hands behind her back, looking quite playful. Chen Dong shamelessly replied, I specifically came to see you. Zhou Lanxin pouted and shot him a look, shaking her head. I don't believe you came just to see me. Chen Dong shook his head, holding his chest. What can I do if you don't believe me? Well, it's noon. Let us go have lunch together. How was your first day of class? Zhou Lanxin nodded. It was pretty good, but some parts of the lessons were a bit difficult. I need to take notes with my classmates to keep up with the others. Chen Dong asked what subjects she was taking. Zhou Lanxin explained that her classes were more focused on liberal arts, different from high school. With classmates who had some educational background, studying to improve for job opportunities, learning targeted knowledge including Chinese, how to write essays, mathematics, history, geography, as well as knowledge about public institutions and social relations. This morning, Ermao and a very pretty female police officer came to find me, brought me some food, and told my classmates that if anyone dared to bully me, he would find trouble with them. Plus, he pulled the female officer next to him and said she was the daughter of the police chief. Zhou Lanxin said. Upon hearing this, Chen Dong couldn't help but chuckle. That rascal Ermao. I asked him to back you up, not to show off. Ermao really went overboard this time. Zhou Lanxin immediately raised her small fist and lightly tapped Chen Dong's back twice, angrily saying, Brother-in-law, so it was you who called Ermao over. He made such a scene, embarrassing me in front of my classmates. The whole morning, no one dared to talk to me. Even the principal came to ask me about that police officer. Wondering how I knew the police chief, Zhou Lanxin's forehead broke out in a cold sweat at the thought. She then reached out, and twisted Qindong's arm hard. Qindong quickly grabbed her hand, grinning. Lanxin, let go, let go. It hurts, it hurts. What do you know? I just didn't want you to be bullied at school, so I asked Mao to back you up. Although he did it a bit clumsily, it worked. At least no one dares to bully you in your school anymore. Zhou Lanxin, is this your boyfriend? He is really handsome. A woman in her 30s with short hair. Passing by them smiled. Another woman in her 30s beside her also smiled. Zhou Lanxin, you and your boyfriend really are a perfect match. A pair made in heaven. These two were Zhou Lanxin's classmates. Her classmates were all common folks from society, not the type of students who went from middle school to high school, but rather people who were studying to improve their cultural knowledge, either already working or preparing for job opportunities. So there were quite a few older people in the class. No, he is my brother-in-law, Zhou Lanxin explained, blushing. However, her words were met with laughter from the two older female classmates. You two are quite playful. One acting as brother-in-law and the other as sister-in-law, huh? Little Zhou, just admit he is your boyfriend. What is there to be shy about? It's a new era now. Everyone's thoughts are more progressive. Being in a relationship is just fine. If he really is your brother-in-law, would you still dare to flirt in front of everyone? Listening to what the two were saying, Zhou Lanxin blushed even more, explaining, he really is my brother-in-law. Qindong quickly pulled her hand, grinning at the two women. Ladies, I'm her boyfriend. We're just playing a game. Hee hee. One of the women chuckled at Qindong. Got it. Big sister was young once too. I understand what you young people think. The other woman also laughed. You two young folks are quite playful. Hearing their understanding remarks made Qindong's mouth twitch. You don't understand anything. I really am her brother-in-law. She is really my sister-in-law. Brother-in-law, you really are something. With you handling things this way, all our classmates will definitely misunderstand me. Zhou Lanxin, blushing, said to Qindong with annoyance. Qindong publicly admitted to being her boyfriend, which made her feel both nervous and a little pleased. She couldn't help but wonder what Qindong meant by that. Could it be? But that is impossible. It's only been one night. How could he have such thoughts? Lanxin, you don't understand. If I don't say I'm your boyfriend and instead say I'm your brother-in-law, what will others think? It's not like you were pulling me around, and that's why people misunderstood that I'm your boyfriend. If I said I'm your brother-in-law, then when others hear about you being my sister-in-law, it would be really hard to explain later. Also, you should just focus on your studies at school. If everyone knows you have a boyfriend, it will save you a lot of trouble, Qindong said seriously. Ugh, is it my fault? You were the one pulling me around. If everyone knows I'm really your brother-in-law, then they might say there's something inappropriate between us. The fear of public opinion. Zhou Lanxin pouted and took a deep breath. Brother-in-law, what trouble can this save me from? Qindong's explanation made sense, but she felt a bit unhappy. It turned out she was overthinking it. He wasn't implying anything about her. You're so pretty. If everyone knows you have a boyfriend, some men won't bother you. Otherwise, a lot of guys will follow you around, and that would definitely annoy you, Qindong said. Thinking about such a beautiful sister-in-law, Qindong felt uncomfortable about who might take advantage of her. Zhou Lanxin, with a flushed face and starry eyes, quietly asked, Brother-in-law, am I pretty? Chapter 82. Since we are fated, take the initiative. Seeing Zhou Lanxin looking at him with her beautiful eyes and asking such a question, Qindong blurted out, You're beautiful. Definitely beautiful. You're the prettiest girl I've ever seen. Qindong nodded seriously. Zhou Lanxin's face turned even redder as she shook her head and pouted, Not really. My sister Yun is much prettier. If that were the case, why would you choose Yun as your wife? Qindong replied, You're the prettiest. But your sister is the most charming. Of course, I chose her as my wife. This question wasn't too difficult for me. If I said your sister is the prettiest, wouldn't that be slapping my own face? I just praised you for being the prettiest, and with your stubbornness, you would definitely hold on to my words and talk a lot. What about Sister Honglian? Zhou Lanxin pouted. Qindong said, As for your sister Honglian, she makes my heart ache. Haha, little sister-in-law, didn't he expect that, huh? Zhou Lanxin snorted. Brother-in-law, you seem to be quite slick with your words now. Qindong quickly shook his head. Lanxin, look at you. I was just joking, and you say that about me. I'm very sad. If you meet a man you like in the future, as long as you like him, your brother-in-law will support you. Not wanting to talk too much. He didn't want her to think he was teasing her or make her overthink it. Even if she wasn't my actual sister-in-law, it could end badly. If it got back to my wife, how would Qindong explain it? Soon, Qindong and Zhou Lanxin were eating in the vocational school cafeteria. The cafeteria didn't accept cash, only meal tickets. In the morning, Zhou Lanxin exchanged 100 yuan for meal tickets. The main dishes in the cafeteria were steamed buns, flour rolls, and rice. One bun ticket was 5 cents. A portion of rice weighing about half a pound cost 2 bun tickets. The dishes in the cafeteria were quite plentiful, with 7 or 8 seasonal vegetables, plus pork, chicken, and fish, although these were not many. Using the meal tickets Zhou Lanqin gave him, Shindong bought several dishes she wanted to eat. Although Zhou Lanqin said they couldn't eat that much. When it came time to eat, she didn't say a word and just dug in. Lanqin, how do you like the dishes I picked? Do you like them? Shindong asked while eating a bun and watching Zhou Lanqin eat. Zhou Lanqin replied, it's okay. Shindong thought to himself, stubborn as ever. I found out through the Rui Pearl that these are the dishes you like to eat. Now, you say they're just okay? Shindong guessed that Zhou Lanqin said that because she was worried about admitting she liked the dishes, thinking that if she did, he might tell her to eat more in the future and not worry about spending money. She was trying to save money. Zhou Lanqin had a lively personality, chatty but very considerate and sensitive inside. In fact, these dishes didn't taste good to Zhou Lanqin. She just didn't have an appetite. On one hand, Shindong was joking and laughing with her, but he kept a distance. On the other hand, she was overthinking things. That's why she didn't have much of an appetite while eating. Lanqin, don't hold back on eating at school. On my way home yesterday, I was lucky enough to catch a bear, and today I'm coming to the county to sell bear meat. Your brother-in-law bought the bear paws. The bear bile is being processed, and in a few days, I'll sell the bear bile, and I'll give you some money then. You know, the bear bile from this bear is golden bile, and one piece can sell for 1,000 or 2,000 without a problem, Shindong said, taking a big bite of his bun and laughing. The joy of making money and sharing it with family was something Shindong hadn't experienced in his past life. In his previous life, he initially worked hard to make money to treat his illness. Later, when he couldn't be cured, he had already built a large business. And making money was just to prevent the business he created from collapsing. After that, making money was just a habit, and the money earned was just data. Humph. I knew you weren't here just to see me. Zhou Lanqin was taken aback after hearing Shindong's words, her eyes instantly misting over. She snorted and stood up with her bowl of rice, walking outside. After taking a couple of steps, she couldn't hold back her tears. Her heart felt so heavy. Zhou Lanqin's actions left Shindong puzzled, scratching his head in confusion, not understanding why Zhou Lanqin suddenly got angry for no reason. Was it because I wasn't here specifically to see her? That can't be right. Could it be that her period came? Shindong thought mischievously. Could it be that someone bullied her? Thinking of this, Shindong didn't hesitate. Looking at Zhou Lanqin's figure walking more than 10 meters away, he used the Rui Pearl to probe the events that could cause her emotional fluctuations in the next 3 days. The Rui Pearl could probe a radius of 50 meters and find out about emotional fluctuations of people with a friendship level above 60. With an invisible white light falling on Zhou Lanqin, Shindong's mind quickly filled with events that could cause her emotional changes in the next 3 days. This question is too difficult. I don't want to study anymore. The homework assigned by the teacher is just too hard. I want to do it. Let them criticize me. The images in Shindong's mind were all about Zhou Lanqin's struggles with her studies. Either the questions were too difficult, or she was feeling frustrated and unwilling to study, or the homework assigned by the teacher was too hard. Besides that, he didn't see anything else that could cause Zhou Lanqin's emotional fluctuations. Sweat. It's understandable. She hasn't studied properly for over 2 years. Now asking her to study, various adaptations are normal. The fact that Mao came to school to support Zhou Lanqin had some effect. At least no men were bothering her. So doesn't that mean that something that should have happened has changed? Shindong suddenly realized this issue. At this moment, a woman wearing a white shirt and sporting a neat short haircut sat down in the seat across from him. Upon seeing this woman, Shindong was taken aback. This woman was none other than Zhongyi. What a coincidence. She actually sat directly opposite him. The vocational school cafeteria probably had dozens of tables. And now it was lunchtime, with many tables already filled with people. Zhongyi must have seen an empty seat here and decided to sit down. Is this a rare fate? As Zhongyi, holding her bowl of food, sat down across from Shindong. She furrowed her brows in thought when she noticed the person opposite her looked somewhat familiar, but she couldn't recall who he was. When Shindong saw Zhongyi looking at him, he immediately smiled slightly and said, "Hello, Teacher Zhong. It's a pleasure to meet you." Since they had fate, he decided to take the initiative. "Hello, may I ask if you are?" Zhongyi, after hearing Shindong's words, lightly brushed aside her bangs that were hanging over her eyes and asked with a furrowed brow in confusion. She had felt he looked familiar when she saw him earlier, but couldn't recall who he was. Thus, She was a bit surprised when he greeted her. Her gentle gesture of brushing her bangs brought a lot of attention from the surrounding male colleagues. If it weren't for the serious crime of harassment in this era, there would definitely be some infatuated men approaching her. Chundong smiled and said, "My name is Chundong, an enthusiast of fashion design. I've self-studied some fashion design and garment making. I originally wanted to further my studies at our night school, but I haven't had the time due to my busy schedule. However, I heard about you from a friend and know you teach garment making. I've seen you from a distance on campus a few times. My sister-in-law is currently attending night school at your school and lives in your faculty's residential area. I saw you at the entrance of the community when I dropped her off yesterday. To bridge the distance between people, finding common interests or overlapping knowledge is a good way to facilitate conversation. Having experienced so much in his past life, now reborn, when he encountered a woman with whom he had a connection in his previous life, he naturally would not let the opportunity slip by. He didn't force it, but if fate was on his side, he wouldn't miss it. Having made up his mind, he certainly wouldn't be shy or reserved. I wondered why you looked familiar. It turns out we met at the community entrance yesterday. You self-studied fashion design. How's it going? Zhongyi asked. Chundong smiled. It's going well. I can draw some designs and also make clothes. If I have any questions in the future, may I ask you for advice, Teacher Zhong? Zhongyi nodded. Of course, no problem. If you encounter any issues, you can ask me. However, I still suggest that you should consider enrolling in the adult night school to systematically learn this knowledge. It's much better than figuring it out on your own. A man learning fashion design and making clothes surprised Zhongyi. It's important to note that in classes for garment making, all the students were women. There were no men at all. Men studying this technique were quite rare. Most of the female classmates aimed to learn garment making to enter textile or clothing factories. Chundong said, "All right, Teacher Zhong, if I have time, I will definitely enroll in our school's night school. My fashion sketching and sewing skills are quite good. Although I can't say I'm top tier, I'm definitely not bad. At least I should be better than you right now. Just wait to be amazed by me." At this moment, a 30-year-old man wearing a gray imitation Zhongshan suit with a slightly balding head walked over holding a white enamel bowl with red characters. He directly plopped down next to Zhongyi and asked her, "Zhongyi, who is this?" Zhongyi replied, "This is a classmate I just met who intends to study fashion design. Chundong, this is my husband, Liao Zhonghua. He is also a teacher at the vocational school." Chundong quickly said, "Hello, Teacher Liao." Evil bald head, just wait. Chundong thought, "Watch how I hasten the separation between you and Zhongyi, striving to ruin your reputation." He chuckled to himself. If Zhongyi were a virtuous woman, Chundong certainly wouldn't intentionally break up her relationship. However, since the two of them were destined to part ways, he felt justified in fanning the flames. No need for thanks. After a brief exchange of pleasantries between Liao Zhonghua and Chundong, Chundong stood up and left. There was plenty of time ahead, no need to rush. After exiting the cafeteria, he saw his sister-in-law standing not far from the entrance waiting for him. When she saw Chundong come out, she huffed and turned to leave with a toss of her braided pigtails. Chundong chuckled. His sister-in-law was throwing a tantrum at him. "Lanxian, I'm leaving. I don't know when I'll come to see you next," he called out as he dashed off towards the school gate. Zhou Lanxin, initially hoping Chundong would say something nice to her, was taken aback when she saw him run off. She never expected him to sprint away. "Brother-in-law, I won't talk to you anymore," Zhou Lanxin shouted loudly. However, seeing Chundong not turn back, but continue forward made her stomp her feet in frustration. Tears could not be held back as she cried. She looked at Chundong waving at her from a distance and couldn't help but smile through her tears. "Brother-in-law is such a joker," she thought. "It's already great that he came to see me the next day. He even gave me 200 yuan yesterday, told me not to be stingy with food at school, and brought me a few pounds of marinated bear meat to eat. He has really done what a brother-in-law should do." However, she thought, but he is not really my brother-in-law. What is wrong with him? This sister-in-law sometimes couldn't be spoiled, or it would lead to issues. You are my sister-in-law, not my wife. Why should I indulge your spoiled behavior? Soon, Chundong arrived at the place where bicycles were parked at the vocational school and handed his bamboo tag to the man watching the bikes. The old man checked the small bamboo tag tied to Chundong's bicycle handle, confirming the engraving matched. He waved Chundong off, signaling he could leave. After paying 10 cents, Chundong pedaled away on his bicycle. The old bicycle was still slow. He thought to himself that he needed to make more money to buy a motorcycle to ride comfortably. Quickly, he arrived at the supply and marketing cooperative, where a sales clerk recognized him, knowing he was associated with Xiao Dalong. After inquiring, she learned that Chun Dong intended to buy a sewing machine. Since he had made friends with Zhong Yi and planned to consult her about fashion design and garment making, a sewing machine was certainly necessary. He needed to practice at home. Just as it happened, his home didn't have a sewing machine, and Su Yun could use a sewing machine to make clothes, often going to her sister-in-law's house to use hers. In the end, Chun Dong spent 5 yuan to buy an industrial ticket, then spent 120 yuan to purchase a Farron sewing machine. He also spent 20 yuan on several kinds of fabric, buying a few yards of each. In addition, he bought some joss paper, paper money, incense, and pastries. These were items his mother had instructed him to buy because in a couple of days, it would be the day he worshipped his godfather. His so-called godfather was a large stone named Phoenix Stone in the old forest, which he was told to worship because a fortune teller said he lacked earth in his 5 elements and needed a godfather. Many locals had worshipped the Phoenix Stone as their godfather, following a custom in northeast China. Children who lack certain elements in the 5 elements should worship a guardian, godfather, with complementary attributes. With such a godfather, the child will grow up healthily. In case of misfortune, the godfather will also protect the child. For example, Chun Dong lacks earth in his 5 elements, and his godfather is a Feng Huang stone. His elder brother lacks wood and has a mountain-grown old red pine as his godfather. Their father lacks metal and has an iron pillar hanging on a cliff as his godfather. Such practices of worshipping godfathers are common in the local area. In a couple of days, it will be Chun Dong's annual visit to his godfather. In fact, his godfather is a big stone that contains iron elements and has been struck by lightning many times. After being struck for hundreds or thousands of years, it has developed strange patterns on its surface. Locals say the stone godfather protects his godson from disasters, which adds to the mystique. However, in 20 or 30 years, the stone godfather was stolen, which angered many locals. It is said that a feng shui master had it stolen to create a feng shui stone that was transported to a port city. The sewing machine was tied to the back seat by Chun Dong, while the large basin for holding meat was fastened to the sewing machine. He went to the Hongxing Forest Farm Supply and Marketing Cooperative to claim the reward. Yesterday, he killed that black bear, which has a reward of 50 yuan. Old Gua said he would mention Chun Dong's accomplishment to the person responsible for issuing the bounty at the cooperative. He just needs to go to the Supply and Marketing Cooperative to collect his reward when he has time. Why wouldn't he want 50 yuan? It's just a slight detour. After leaving the county, he stored the sewing machine and the large basin in the spiritual spring space, planning to take them out when he was close to home. He wasn't afraid of other suspicions. What could a small person like him be suspected of? Big Yellow, Big Head, Ada, and Air. The 4 dogs were taken out from the spiritual spring space by Chun Dong. The 4 dogs were still a bit dazed after coming out. They remembered being in another place, but in the blink of an eye, they found themselves in a different location. Naturally, the dogs had no idea that half a day had passed in that instant due to the time-stopping storage capability of the spiritual spring space. He rode his bike with the 4 dogs following him on either side. Having a few dogs with him while out gave him a sense of security. In case of encountering wild beasts or any people, the dogs would take the lead. Soon, he arrived at the Western Supply and Marketing Cooperative of the Forest Farm and inquired about where to collect the reward. He then walked into a small room in the cooperative with his ID. He recounted where he had killed the bear and presented his ID along with a few witnesses. A middle-aged man with a round face leaned over and said with a smile, "You are the marksman who killed the bear on the mountain from hundreds of meters away with a single shot?" Chun Dong was surprised. "Comrade, have you heard of my story?" The round-faced man laughed. "Your face is full of stories." It felt like Chun Dong wanted to punch him. He wanted to say, "I'll make your face full of accidents." Chapter 84. Meeting the Elder Brother. Reminding him to be careful of hidden guns. "Comrade, this is our cooperative's special hunting director, Tian Daler." The old woman responsible for processing Chun Dong's reward said. Chun Dong smiled and said, "Hello, Director Tian." This guy was big and burly, with a thick neck and head. How could he be a director? Tian Daler smiled. "Hello? Comrade Chun, I've heard from Old Gua that your marksmanship is impressive, taking down a black bear from 500 or 600 meters away with one shot. He praised your skills." Chun Dong shook his head and smiled. "Director Tian, you flatter me. I just got lucky, like a blind cat stumbling upon a dead mouse." Tian Daler patted Chun Dong on the shoulder and laughed. "You're too modest, Comrade Xiao Chun. I heard from other hunters that a few days ago you went into the mountains and shot several sika deer, roe deer, and green-skinned rabbits. I've heard of your father's great name from years ago, the hunter King Chen Laoshu from Dafeng Town. Your hunting skills now are reminiscent of your father's prowess back in the day. Truly, a tiger father does not produce a dog son. Shundong felt a bit overwhelmed by the praise. Fortunately, he was mature enough not to get carried away like other young people might. Thank you for the compliment. Director Tian, he said humbly. Tian Daler continued, Xiao Chun, in half a month, we will organize an operation to encircle and kill large claws in the vicinity of Bear Blind Valley. There have been many large claws spotted in this area last year, and over 10 hunters have fallen victim to them. The operation will last a total of 7 days, and regardless of whether we catch any large claws or not, a fixed wage of 30 yuan will be paid for the 7 days. Additionally, any large game killed will be split 3 to 7 with the forest farm, with the hunters getting the larger share. Are you interested? Shindong decisively replied, not interested. Large claws, northeast tigers. Northeast tigers are definitely the top predators in the northeast mountains. At this time, there are still a considerable number of them in the mountains. Human-eating incidents involving northeast tigers occur from time to time, unlike in 20 years, when there would be only a few left, many of which would be kept in parks, fat and harmless like well-behaved big cats. Seeing Chun Dong's firm refusal caught Tian Daler off guard. Xiao Chun, won't you consider it? Chun Dong shook his head. No consideration. My father has contracted over 100 acres of orchard, and there is a lot of work to do lately. Participating in the encirclement of a northeast tiger? Forget it. I'm a lone wolf. I can afford to be so willful with my spiritual spring space. Besides, it's only a few dozen yuan, and I don't need to take such a big risk. Wait a minute. They are going around Bear Blind Valley. If they accidentally discover that century-old wild ginseng, wouldn't that be a problem? I need to head to Bear Blind Valley first and look for that wild ginseng. If he doesn't know about that wild ginseng, he definitely won't go to Bear Blind Valley. That wild ginseng is like a piece of gold just sitting there. If he doesn't get it, and someone else does, it makes Chun Dong uneasy just thinking about it. After he finishes with the Godfather worship, he must make a trip to Bear Blind Valley. All right then, Tian Daler laughed. This young man is so direct with his refusals. Can't he be a little more tactful? After receiving the 50 yuan reward, Chun Dong planned to leave the cooperative. However, he unexpectedly encountered a man in his 40s, holding a long-handled machete and carrying a large backpack, with a 56 rifle slung over his shoulder. Elder brother, what a coincidence to see you here, Chun Dong said, somewhat surprised. This was his elder brother, Chun Jun. He works as a caretaker at the Hongxing West Forest Farm, belonging to a semi-government unit, returning home once or twice a month. His daily work involves patrolling the forest with a few other caretakers, walking dozens of miles along mountain paths, which is quite hard work. Upon hearing Chun Dong's words, Chun Jun looked up at him, first stunned, then his bronze-colored face broke into a smile. Xiao Wu, what a coincidence to see you here. What are you doing? Seeing his youngest brother made Chun Jun very happy. As the eldest brother, he married young. He was 20 when he got married and became a father at 21. Chun Dong is only 2 years older than his eldest son. At that time, their parents were busy, and Chun Dong had often been taken care of by the couple. Therefore, they are very close to their youngest brother. And Chun Dong feels the same way towards his elder brother and sister-in-law. They are the typical honest couple, living a simple life without much fuss. In his past life, he was successful in business and also helped his elder brother and sister-in-law. This year, his elder brother was shot in the leg, leaving him with a limp just like their father. He had already told his sister-in-law to remind his brother to be cautious while patrolling the mountains. He couldn't just say that he was a reborn person who knew about his brother being shot. Besides, who would believe him? Unexpectedly, he ran into his brother today and felt it was necessary to give him a proper warning. I came here to discuss the bounty situation, Chun Dong said. Xiao Wu, I went home this morning and heard from our parents and your sister-in-law that you've taken over Dad's job and started hunting. You've had some good luck and made quite a bit of money. Dad praised your shooting skills, saying you're doing great, Xiao Wu. You've really made something of yourself? His brother said, patting Chun Dong's shoulder with a smile filled with pride. Their parents also praised Chun Dong for growing up and being more sensible. He had bought them many things and even rented the orchard that their father had been longing for, which made their father very happy. In addition, both families received a lot of meat from Chun Dong, which was a significant blessing during this season when meat was scarce. Especially the help he provided to his second sister, Chun Xiaohe, and her husband, made his brother silently appreciate Chun Dong's growth. However, it was a bit awkward for his brother, a straightforward person, to openly praise Chun Dong in front of him. Chun Dong laughed. Of course, I have to succeed. You know, even if I get carried away, I'm still your little brother. From his brother's subsequent words, Dong learned that his brother had come to the supply and marketing cooperative to replenish supplies and also took the opportunity to visit home. His brother then complained to Dong about his quarrel with his sister-in-law, Liang Fong, saying that as a family, there was no need to tear each other apart, as it would look very bad if it got out. Dong nodded in understanding, merely agreeing with his brother. He couldn't just tell the truth, could he? Xiao Wu, it's almost time for me to leave. You should be careful on your way back, and also be cautious while hunting. Don't be too greedy. The mountain god only provides a limited number of game for those who make their living hunting. Sometimes you just have to let go, his brother advised. They chatted for more than 20 minutes, and his brother bought Dong some candy, which Dong insisted he didn't want, but his brother insisted he take it. With time running short, his brother needed to return to the logging camp, which was quite far away. Dong nodded. You too, be safe. Brother, I need to tell you something. I dreamed that you were shot at recently, so you really need to be careful. Dong used the excuse of a dream to remind his brother. His brother laughed. Haha, dreams are often the opposite. Besides, I've been a forest ranger for many years and have developed a keen sense of awareness. You don't need to worry about me. However, since you mentioned it, I will be more cautious these days. Watching his brother leave, Dong secretly hoped that his warning would keep him safe. Just as he was about to leave, he noticed two people sneaking behind his brother from a distance. Chapter 85. Asking for directions from a local, how to get to the road of the underworld. Damn, I didn't expect to run into this guy here today. Once we get a bit farther from the supply and marketing cooperative, let us sneak up and give him a shot to teach him a lesson for confiscating our game the other day. A middle-aged man with a goatee and a single-barrel shotgun said ominously to his companion, a round-faced man. As he spoke, his gaze was fixed on Jun, who was walking a few hundred meters ahead, his eyes cold and snake-like. The round-faced man replied worriedly, Old Lin, if we teach him a lesson, he will definitely recognize us. How will we hunt in the West logging camp then? Xiaohu, are you stupid? If I'm taking care of him, does he need to see me? This thing in my hand isn't just for show. Once we get into the mountains, I'll find the right opportunity to give him a shot, and that'll be it. If he gets hurt, we just run away. Who will know it was us? The goatee man said coldly. The round-faced man paused, anxious. Old Lin, are you crazy? Shooting at a forest ranger? What if things go wrong? If he ends up dead and someone sees us, we're done for. Old Lin replied irritably. Xiaohu, you're too timid. Let us be careful. Who would know it was us? Don't you want to take revenge on this guy? He caused us to have all our game confiscated. How can you swallow this anger? I can't. You know my shooting skills, right? Within 100 meters, I can hit whatever I aim at. I plan to shoot him in the leg. That'll teach him a lesson. The two were hunters who collaborated with the Hongxing West logging camp. A few days ago, they had gone hunting in the mountains and caught several sika deer, two of which were male deer with antlers. They sliced the antlers into thin pieces and hid them on their bodies, planning to slip past the game inspection. Normally, the distribution of game between hunters and the logging camp is a 46-54 split, with hunters getting 4 and the camp getting 6. However, some hunters, after catching good game, try to hide it and avoid handing over their catch. The logging camp has rules stating that hunters must declare their game to the patrol personnel before leaving the camp, and the patrol personnel will conduct regular inspections. Generally, when patrol personnel see the number of game declared by hunters, they just do a simple check. And even if there are discrepancies, they usually turn a blind eye. However, if they encounter a foolish hunter who doesn't know how to play the game, the patrol personnel won't just let them pass by. The antler slices that Xiao who had hidden accidentally fell out while Jun was inspecting them, which caught Jun's attention. He thoroughly checked the two of them and found a lot of antler pieces on them. According to the logging camp's regulations, once this situation is discovered, all of their game would be confiscated, and they would be severely punished. Jun confiscated all their game. Today, when they went to the supply and marketing cooperative to buy things, they happened to run into Jun coming out of the cooperative, and the goatee man immediately felt malicious. As Jun walked ahead, he thought of his brother Dong and couldn't help but smile with satisfaction. Xiao has really grown up and become more sensible. Just like Dad said, a tall tree stands straight. Once you become a father, you naturally grow up. It really is like this. He recalled some of the mischievous things Dong had done as a child and thought about how their mother said that Dong sought help from the police to catch the real culprit, preventing Du Gang from being wrongfully accused and saving the couple from heavy debts. Otherwise, with Du Gang's stubborn nature, he could easily have mental problems. With a debt of 2,000, they wouldn't be able to handle it. Xiao Wu's luck is quite good. His shooting skills are impressive too. Killing a black bear with one shot from hundreds of meters away, that's incredible shooting. Chen Jun also thought about what Chen Dong said about dreaming of someone trying to shoot him, which made him chuckle. Someone trying to shoot me? I haven't been a forest ranger all these years for nothing. Dealing with wild animals and hunters, sometimes people are more dangerous than beasts. In the mountains, incidents where some people are seriously injured or even killed by black guns occur from time to time, especially since the forest rangers sometimes have a job that offends people. Some hunters act without rules and do not face any punishment for not following the rules. Thinking of this, Chen Jun instinctively turned his head to look back. His gaze fell on two people following him about 200 to 300 meters behind. These two people are suspicious. Chen Jun's heart sank. After walking several miles, he realized that these two had been keeping this distance behind him all along. Due to his years of experience walking mountain paths, he was quite fast on the trails. However, the fact that the two behind him could keep up for so long and maintain this distance was clearly problematic. Could it be that Xiao Wu was right? He dreamed that someone was going to shoot him with a black gun, and it turned out to be true? With this thought in mind, Chen Jun became more vigilant as he walked. After passing a bend, instead of moving forward, he hid behind a tree by the roadside and quickly took out his monocular. Through the monocular, he clearly saw the faces of the two people following him. He recognized them. If he remembered correctly, one was named Lin Dai and the other Lin Xiaohu. Both were from Dalantown. Had he confiscated their hunting spoils a few days ago, and now they were harboring resentment and following him to shoot him with a black gun? Chen Jun thought to himself. With this in mind, he couldn't help but take his Type 56 rifle off his shoulder, chamber around, and disengage the safety. Damn it, if you dare to shoot at me, I will shoot you down, Chen Jun said coldly to himself. As a man from northeast China, having hunted for many years and now serving as a forest ranger for many years, how could he not have a bit of blood on his hands? Just then, four people came around the corner, one of whom was a man in his 40s. Upon seeing Chen Jun leaning against a big tree, he immediately smiled and greeted him. This was an old acquaintance of Chen Jun, Guo Changshan, and he could only pretend that nothing had happened and chatted with Guo Changshan. Meanwhile, Lin Dai and Lin Xiaohu, who were trailing him and wanted to shoot him, noticed that Chen Jun was chatting with someone and worried that they might be spotted by his friend. If something happened to Chen Jun, it would be easy to suspect them, so they hid down the slope of the mountain road. Xiaohu, let us wait a moment. After these few people pass by, we will follow old Chun, shoot at him, and then run away quickly, Lin Dai said to Lin Xiaohu. While Lin Dai was speaking, they saw a young man coming down the small path where they were hiding. They pretended to chat casually as if nothing was wrong. For some reason, Lin Dai thought the approaching young man looked somewhat familiar. He surprisingly resembled Chen Junhei. Fellow villager, could you tell me how to get to the Yellow Springs Road? The young man asked with a smile when he reached them. Lin Xiaohu laughed and said, Fellow villager, what road are you asking about? I want to know how to get to the Yellow Springs Road, the young man replied, his face wearing a smile that was neither fully a smile nor a frown. What Yellow Springs? Lin Dai laughed as he spoke. Just then, he noticed that the young man who had been empty-handed now had two glimmering throwing knives in his hands. Here are your tickets to the Yellow Springs, the young man said, as he suddenly lunged forward, stabbing the two knives towards Lin Dai and Lin Xiaohu's heads. The sharp knives pierced through their skulls as if they were stabbing through tofu, and they didn't even have time to scream before falling into darkness, dead. Chapter 86. I, Chen Dong, am willing to smoke, drink, and purr my hair for Chen Sanming. Watching the two men with bloody holes in their foreheads being taken into the spiritual space, Chen Dong thought to himself, I hope these two guys were the ones planning to shoot my brother. Otherwise, I hope you can be more vigilant in the future and pay attention to whether anyone is secretly following you. When Chen Dong saw the two sneaking behind Chen Jun, he couldn't help but associate it with someone wanting to shoot his brother. With that in mind, he quickly followed to see what was going on. Thanks to the transformation of his body by the spiritual spring water, he could hear sounds within 100 meters without much noise. Hearing their conversation made Chen Dong realize they wanted to shoot Chen Jun. How could he tolerate that? After trailing them for a few miles after leaving the supply and marketing cooperative, seeing them go down a small path, Chen Dong felt the opportunity had come and acted decisively. First, he walked up to them empty-handed and casually asked for directions to ease their tension. Then, he summoned two throwing knives from the spiritual space, sent them on their way, and took them into the spiritual space in less than 10 seconds. With the existence of the spiritual space, it was that easy. Big Yellow, Big Head, you two lick the blood off the ground clean for me. Dong summoned the two dogs, Big Yellow and Big Head, from the spiritual space and ordered them. He wanted to leave no trace of blood at the scene. After Big Yellow and Big Head licked the blood clean, Dong poured out some water from his hand and sprinkled it all over the scene. This method was cleaner than destroying the corpses. When I go into the mountains, I'll hang their bodies on a rock and throw them into the big lake. In a few days, only their skeletons will remain. Who would still know it was them? In this era, there is no identification anyway. Initially, Dong considered whether he should be more cautious and cut their bodies into pieces to feed the fish, but that method seemed a bit perverse. Killing was one thing, but cutting them into pieces bit by bit was a different matter. Doing that too much could lead to a twisted mentality. After completing this, he quickly walked to the main road, summoned his bicycle, and planned to ride home. Wagu, you came just in time. Yesterday, you mentioned that the guy who shot the black bear down the slope from a few hundred meters away, Dong, is here to collect the bounty. Guo Changlin said when he encountered a staff member from the supply and marketing cooperative riding a bicycle on the way to the cooperative. He had just left with his brother. Which brother? Old Chen Jun? Guo Changlin asked curiously. On my way here, I met Old Chun and chatted with him for a bit. He mentioned that his brother Dong has excellent marksmanship and that he is quite a straightforward guy. I didn't see Dong, though. Weren't the two brothers walking together? I saw them going in that direction one after another. So Dong probably took a different path somewhere. The staff member didn't think too much of it. Guo Changlin nodded. That should be it. If Dong had been around, he would definitely have recognized that Guo Changlin was the same person who wanted to borrow a gun to shoot a bear yesterday. On Dong's end, he pedaled quickly on his bicycle and soon arrived near Chun Liutuan, tying a sewing machine, cloth, and a large basin for storing bear meat to the back seat. He took out his Type 56 rifle and hung it on his shoulder, with a machete at his waist. He was dressed the same way when he went out as when he came home. How thin can you get? Many villagers saw Dong returning with a sewing machine and teased him, joking that he now only needed a radio to complete his ensemble. Dong pretended to be cool and said, "Next time I'll get a radio to match." Their village still didn't have electricity, but neighboring towns like Dafeng Town had begun to install it, and in a maximum of 2 years, their village would have electricity as well. Installing electricity in mountain villages was quite troublesome, with the need for utility poles, wires, transformers, and all that. The main issue was that the country was still developing. After all, it had only been a few years since the reform and opening up. Radios that used carbon zinc batteries existed. Just install a few batteries. He is not in a hurry to go to the county now, and he still needs to think about hunting to save more money. Enjoying life is a must. Living a second life is not about living a hard and miserable life. One should enjoy the simple life well. Money is the foundation for enjoying life. Compared to doing business and bearing some speculative risks, making money from hunting is relatively stable at this stage. As for whether he really collects that century-old wild ginseng, he does not plan to sell it. This thing is valuable and will only get more expensive in the future. Xiao Wu, how are things between you and Dong Lian now? There was just a misunderstanding between me and brother Dong Lian. What else can it be? Didn't you shout this morning that you wanted to report those two? Uncle, I was just joking. We are all from the same village. Our ancestors were family generations ago. There's no need to report my uncle. In fact, my uncle is quite good and has worked hard for the development of our village over the years. Xiao Wu, you didn't say that this morning. Brother San, what I said this morning was out of anger. Can angry words be taken seriously? Actually, I quite admire Uncle Sanming. Nobody can speak ill of him. If anyone does, I will get angry with them. Damn, Xiao Wu, have you become Uncle Chen Sanming's lackey? I was thinking of watching you compete with Uncle Chen Sanming. Big brother, what are you talking about? What do I have to do with Uncle Sanming? In the future, the direction Uncle Sanming points to will be the direction I move forward. When Dong returned to the village and encountered a group of people in front of the yard, they pulled him to talk about Chen Sanming. Dong almost said that he spent his life following Chen Sanming, smoking, drinking, and doing everything to protect Chen Sanming. This made many people, after hearing Dong say this, directly accuse him of becoming Chen Sanming's lackey. Where is the heroic spirit from this morning when he was cursing at Dong Lian? They had pointed at Dong as the vanguard against Chen Sanming's tyrannical rule. But who would have thought that Dong had been recruited? This made many people feel resentful. Dong thought to himself, what heroic spirit do I have? Where is the benefit of having heroic spirit? Looking at their resentful expressions, Dong secretly laughed, thinking that the chance of someone reporting Chen Sanming had increased to 60%. Let the bullets fly for a while. He believed that as more and more people knew that his father had obtained the orchard from Chen Sanming, the villagers' resentment towards Chen Sanming would grow even larger. Chen Dong's actions also set an example for everyone. As long as you dare to resist, you can benefit from Chen Sanming. Then many would follow suit. The final result would be that many people would learn from Chen Dong's way of struggling against Chen Sanming and his son. And if Chen Sanming did not give them benefits, surely someone would report Chen Sanming. At that time, Chen Sanming would not last long. As for the orchard, it now belongs to his father. How could Chen Dong let it fall into someone else's hands? That's impossible. Xiao Wu has been recruited by Chen Sanming and has become Chen Sanming's dog. I originally thought Xiao Wu was a real man, but in the end, he still obediently complied. One can only say that Chen Sanming is impressive. He must have threatened Xiao Wu with something. TCH. I originally thought Xiao Wu really went to the county to report Chen Sanming, thinking I could watch a good show. But I didn't expect it to turn out like this. In the future, when Xiao Wu sells meat, everyone should not buy it. Why buy his meat? He makes so much money. We shouldn't let him earn our money. Yes, in the future we won't buy his meat. Let's see who he sells it to. I heard that Chen Sanming rented the orchard to Xiao Wu's father, which is also why Xiao Wu became Chen Sanming's lackey. Xiao Wu has really gained tangible benefits. No way, there's this too? No wonder Xiao Wu is like this. He has truly gained benefits. Xiao Wu made a fuss and got benefits. If we go to Chen Sanming to make a fuss, I wonder if we would get benefits too? Many people's eyes revealed greedy looks. On Chen Dong's side, when he returned home carrying the sewing machine, Su Yun and Zhou Honglian were very happy. Chapter 87. The Silly Wife. Husband, you're really silly. Husband, why did you buy a sewing machine? Su Yun looked at the sewing machine tied to the bicycle and came over to touch it. Her face unable to hide her joy. Compared to a watch, she wanted a sewing machine more. She had learned to use one for a while and could make some simple clothes. She always borrowed her sister-in-law's sewing machine. Although her sister-in-law didn't say anything, Su Yun felt a bit embarrassed considering it. A few days ago, she bought a bicycle, and although she still had quite a bit of money, she didn't have the heart to ask for a sewing machine. Now that she is pregnant, she definitely can't do heavy work. Chen Dong also wouldn't let her go into the mountains to collect wild vegetables. In Chen Dong's words, letting two beautiful daughters-in-law go into the mountains. What if they got targeted by other wolves? So Su Yun wanted to find something to do. Zhou Honglian felt the same. Chen Dong had already discussed with her that they would let Uncle Yu and Heir Zhuzi farm their land and Zhou Honglian's land. Originally, Su Yun said that being pregnant wouldn't interfere with farming. But Chen Dong said that farming wouldn't earn much money. It's better for him to rely on his luck hunting for big game. With 30 acres of land, during the autumn harvest, after paying taxes, fertilizer costs, seed costs, water costs, and labor, having 300 to 400 yuan left would be pretty good. Of course, being able to earn 300 to 400 yuan is not worse than the salary of a job in a county government unit. Mainly, they have a lot of land in the northeast, which provides this condition. The harvest of farmers is not worse than that of people in government units. That's why during these years, people from Shandong, Hebei, and Hunan have settled in northeast rural areas. According to relevant policies, those who settle locally will be given a lot of arable land. Many years ago, there was the saying of going to the east, as northeast has abundant resources and fertile land. As long as one is not very lazy, they can easily survive by collecting some wild vegetables and roots from the mountains. However, given Chen Dong's conditions, he certainly does not rely on farming for income. He also doesn't want Su Yun and Zhou Honglian to be too exhausted from farming. Both of them have one already pregnant, and one is eager to get pregnant. Chen Dong cannot let them farm while they are pregnant. Zhou Honglian also came over to take a look at the sewing machine and smiled. This is a foreign brand. My brother-in-law's second sister bought one last year for 170 or 80. Chen Dong shook his head and smiled. No, I have a connection with Director Xiao. I got it for 120 at the internal price. Wife, are you happy? I knew you really wanted a sewing machine. Chen Dong reached out and rubbed Su Yun's little face. Zhou Honglian was surprised. So cheap? Chen Dong nodded. Internal price, it must be much cheaper. Su Yun smiled gently and nodded. Yes, I'm happy. I can make clothes for us in the future. Chen Dong, thinking of her and buying a sewing machine, made her heart feel sweet. Zhou Honglian said with a smile, Chen Dong, if we could get a few more sewing machines from the supply and marketing cooperative, even if we sell each for 150 or 60, making a profit of 30 or 40 each would be great. Chen Dong shook his head and reached out to pat Zhou Honglian's big butt. Sister Honglian, what are you thinking? I only got one for personal use through my connection with Director Xiao at the internal price. But if I try to make money with a few, wouldn't that be taking advantage of Director Zhao's goodwill? Goodwill can't be consumed like that. Otherwise, I might end up in a bad position with my brother-in-law. Goodwill is not used like that. It's used when something happens. Zhou Honglian nodded and smiled. You're right. I was thinking too much. Chen Dong's words indeed made her think more deeply. The sewing machine was carried into the main room by Chen Dong, who then followed the instructions to set up the belt and other components. He stepped on the pedal and watched as the sewing machine head moved up and down with a click-clack sound, bringing back the familiar feeling of frequently using a sewing machine. He mentioned to the two women about his trip to the county to see Zhou Lanxin. They asked how Zhou Lanxin was doing, and Chen Dong replied that she was doing well. He also mentioned that he would have Mao wear a police uniform to support Zhou Lanxin. He reassured them not to worry too much about Zhou Lanxin, as she had Mao's identity as a police officer, and his elder sister's family was also in the county. If anything happened, she could reach out to them for help. Su Yun said Chen Dong was thoughtful. Chen Dong smiled and said, "What a compliment." He playfully smacked Su Yun's bottom twice, causing her face to flush, and she huffed that Hong Lian was still around. Zhou Honglian laughed and said they could ignore her presence, adding that it was no big deal. Sister Hong Lian, do you remember the bet you made with me this morning? I've been thinking about it all day, Chen Dong said, raising an eyebrow at Zhou Honglian with a mischievous grin. Zhou Honglian widened her eyes and said, "What bet? I didn't bet with you." This woman was lying through her teeth. Chen Dong immediately performed a black tiger stealing heart move right on Zhou Honglian's chest. Zhou Honglian covered Chen Dong's hand and spat. "Chen Dong, stop messing around. Xiaoyan is right here." Su Yun, who was sitting on a stool studying the sewing machine, slyly remarked, "You can ignore my presence." "You little vixen, Xiaoyan." Zhou Honglian laughed and scolded. Chen Dong then lifted Zhou Honglian onto his shoulder and playfully slapped her ample backside, saying, "Wife, you go study the sewing machine outside for a bit, and I'll deal with Sister Honglian for daring to scold you. I have to teach her a lesson." Zhou Honglian, perched on Chen Dong's shoulder, pounded her small fists against his back and kicked her legs, wriggling. "Chen Dong, stop it. It's broad daylight." "So what if it's daytime?" Chen Dong chuckled. He carried Zhou Honglian into her room and tossed her onto the bed. After closing the door, Su Yun continued to study the sewing machine outside, and the sounds from the room made her pedal even harder, her face turning as red as a monkey's bottom. She had no objections to what was happening between Chen Dong and Zhou Honglian. If she did, she wouldn't have agreed to Chen Dong's plans to gather a group. Now that she was over 3 months pregnant, she had inquired about Zhou Honglian's desire to have a child, which meant she would have to work extra hard. Once she was pregnant, Chen Dong would only have to wait it out. Inside the room, from around 3 in the afternoon until after 5, the sounds were enough to make Su Yun, listening outside, raise her eyebrows. When it was time for dinner, Su Yun prepared a large plate of boiled bear testicles and bear meat for Chen Dong. And seeing Zhou Honglian walking with her legs apart made her feel a strange happiness. This was her husband. Eating bear testicles and meat while looking at the two beauties in front of him, Chen Dong felt extremely satisfied. "Chen Dong, don't forget. You promised to write some things for me to increase my social experience and lay a foundation for future business," Zhou Honglian said, shoving a piece of bear tendon into Chen Dong's mouth. Earlier in the room, she had asked him how he knew so much. What Chen Dong was doing had her thinking all day, and the more she thought about it, the more incredible it seemed. She wanted to learn from him. Chen Dong said he read it in a book. Zhou Honglian asked what the book was called and where it was. Chen Dong replied he forgot the title and didn't he know where the book went. He asked her what she wanted to do. Zhou Honglian said she wanted to study well so she could accumulate knowledge for future business. Chen Dong asked why she was thinking about business. Zhou Honglian replied that the days of collective pot meals were over. In the future, one's quality of life depended on oneself. Although Chen Dong's hunting was going well, he couldn't hunt forever. They needed money. Many people were starting small businesses, and it was likely that business would open up in the future. So, she thought about researching business. Once she made a lot of money, she would support Chen Dong. Seeing Zhou Honglian so thoughtful, Chen Dong decided to indulge her, holding her close for a long while. Hearing Zhou Honglian's words, Su Yun asked in surprise, "Sister Honglian, are you thinking of starting a business?" Chen Dong teased from the side. Sister Honglian said that once she makes money, she'll support me. That night, as they went to bed, Su Yun turned to Chen Dong and said, "Husband, I think we should let Sister Honglian have 2 children first. Once there are children, there will be attachments. Women are just like men. What if they change their minds when they have money? You've invested so much, and what if Sister Honglian changes her mind later?" Chen Dong held Su Yun and laughed. It doesn't matter. If she really changes her mind, it means I can't keep her heart. Trying to use children to bind a woman's heart won't work. Husband, you're so silly, Su Yun said. Chen Dong playfully pinched Su Yun's delicate nose. Wife. You're pretty silly too. This wife is such a simpleton. 2 days passed without any major events. One morning, Chen Dong hung 2 baskets on a tall figure and set off with a couple of big guys and several dogs. Today, he was going into the mountains to pay respects to his godfather. Chapter 88. Surprised, the gifted heir Zhuzi. Xiao Wu, when you pay respects to your godfather, be sincere and make a lot of noise. Don't let your Gampo unhappy. His mother was busy organizing incense, paper money, and fruit platters, constantly mumbling. Chen Dong rolled his eyes and said, Mom, I know, don't worry. He wanted to say, Mom, sure Gampo is just a stone. I'm just going to pay my respects for some psychological comfort. After all, I might not take it seriously. Of course, although Chen Dong wasn't interested in such superstitious things, he didn't deny them either. After all, what happened to him was extraordinary. Rebirth was even more incredible than local feudal legends. Also, when you pay respects to your godfather, ask him to bless Xiaoyun with a big fat boy, and let him bless you to encounter big game while hunting and keep you safe while hunting. His mother continued her endless chatter. Chen Dong said, Mom, if I say all this to Sir Gampo, he probably won't recognize me as his godson anymore. Why so many things? His mother shook her head, pouted, and grabbed Chen Dong's ear with one hand while covering his mouth with the other, saying, You brat. Stop being so talkative and spouting nonsense. His father chimed in with a phrase he rarely used. Xiao Chui, you really are more trouble than help. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Who's more trouble than help? His mother was getting annoyed. Chen Dong said, Mom, Zhuzi and I are leaving first. You and Dad can argue well. Saying this, he walked out with 2 guns on his back. His parents would bicker over small matters. His father, knowing his mother liked to nag, still often poked fun at her. But it was good. At least they could still argue. He hadn't forgotten to give his parents spiritual spring water these past few days, adding a few drops when making soup. The past few days, when Su Yun and Zhou Honglian had free time, they helped out in the orchard. There was plenty of firewood in the orchard, so they cooked there and ate together. In Dad's words, although the orchard's lease is under his name, Chen Dong is the true owner of the orchard. After all, he fought for it. Dad and Mom are just helping Chen Dong with the work. For Dad, his obsession is simply that he can't bear to part with the fruit trees he has taken care of. At his age, what does he expect to earn? Regarding the ownership of the orchard, Mom and Dad naturally discussed it with the eldest and second sisters-in-law. The eldest sister-in-law had no objections, as this was something Chen Dong cleverly fought for. The second sister-in-law was quite upset upon hearing what Mom and Dad said. However, after being scolded by Mom a few times and told why Chen Dong had scolded her, the second sister-in-law angrily said that in the future, all good things should be given to Xiao Wu. Mom replied that Xiao Wu fought for it from Chen Sanming, so why shouldn't it belong to him? She's just envious and wants to take advantage. She knows how she is. Furious, the second sister-in-law went back to her parents' home. Her family isn't far away, just in the neighboring village, so it wouldn't affect the children's schooling. Mom has a way of handling the second sister-in-law, and it works every time. Chen Dong understands that Mom and Dad mean that once he has the orchard, he should stop thinking about hunting all the time. As an old hunter, he naturally knows that hunting is a matter of risking one's life. With the future of having a big daughter, Mom will have to take good care of her. Chen Dong thinks to himself, he doesn't care about whether it's a boy or a girl, they are all his children. These days, Su Yun made a set of clothes for each of his parents, which made them extremely happy, praising Su Yun for her skills. Privately, Mom told Chen Dong to treat Xiaoyun well, as she is a rare find. Chen Dong wanted to say, Mom, you don't need to remind me. Zhuzi, have you finished the bear meat I gave you and your dad a couple of days ago? Chen Dong smiled at Zhuzi, who was carrying a heavy iron rod. Zhuzi also went to pay respects to his godfather. Speaking of this, Chen Dong found it amusing. When Uncle Yu found Zhuzi, who was still in swaddling clothes, a local quack doctor told Uncle Yu that Zhuzi might not be very bright. Uncle Yu consulted many doctors, but there was no good outcome. Then he listened to someone knowledgeable in the field and had Zhuzi pay respects to a godfather. Uncle Yu, for some reason, ended up having Zhuzi pay respects to 5 godfathers. The 5 elements, gold, wood, water, fire, and earth. He had all the local godfathers. Later, as Zhuzi grew up, even though he wasn't very bright, he managed to grow tall in an era of scarce food. It's pretty remarkable. Plus, he got lost a few times in the mountains. And when people found him, he was just sleeping soundly as if nothing had happened, even in an area rumored to have ferocious beasts. Many people said Juzi was indeed someone who had paid respects to 5 godfathers. He had the strongest background in the area. Even the fierce wild animals in the mountains would avoid him, as his life was too tough. Originally, Juzi rarely went to pay respects to godfathers, mainly because Uncle Yu's health had not been good in recent years, and he couldn't go into the mountains, so no one took Juzi. When he heard that Qindong was going to pay respects to godfathers, Uncle Yu told Qindong to take Juzi along to pay respects to Stone Godfather. Qindong laughed, saying, "You're tagging along for the visit." However, he still took Juzi with him, since Uncle Yu said so, and besides, he wasn't going hunting. So it didn't matter. "Brother Wu, there's still a big chunk I haven't finished eating. Dad said to save some and not eat everything in one go." Juzi scratched his head and said with a silly smile. Then he chuckled, "Brother Wu, did you make a lot of money and marry a beautiful wife?" "Hee hee. Your wife is really pretty. She looks like she can have a boy." Hearing Juzi's words, Qindong's forehead was covered in black lines. "Juzi, that's not my wife. Your head isn't working right. You're still infatuated with one wife." Sweat. Juzi was talking about Zhou Honglian. How did he figure out that Zhou Honglian was his wife? This guy can't be pretending to be a fool to eat the tiger, right? Zhou Honglian lives in his house, so naturally, he wouldn't publicly announce their relationship. The matter of forming cliques is something to be discussed behind closed doors. Juzi scratched his head in confusion. "Isn't that beautiful big sister your wife? But I smell a very fragrant scent from you that is different from my sister-in-law Su Yun. Juzi, are you a dog? Can you smell other people's scents?" Qindong was taken aback. Juzi nodded vigorously. "I am a dog. I can smell some people's scents, but my dad said this is my secret. And I shouldn't tell others, or bad people might catch me. But you're not just anyone. I can tell you this." Qindong was shocked. Juzi has this ability. This guy is truly gifted. "Let's not talk about this for now. We'll discuss it in detail later. Just don't tell anyone about my relationship with this beautiful wife." Qindong whispered to Juzi. He wanted to say Zhou Honglian, but after thinking about it, he decided it was fine for Juzi to know that Zhou Honglian was his wife. Juzi nodded seriously. "Brother Wu, I won't tell anyone." Not far away, someone was coming. It was Chun Sanming and his son riding a bicycle toward them. When Chun Sanming looked over at Qindong for a while, Qindong guessed he must want to talk to him about something. Sure enough, after stopping the bicycle in front of Qindong, Chun Sanming began to speak, confirming his guess. Chapter 89. Qindong. "Third uncle, aren't we in cahoots? Xiao Wu, why are you leading a big guy and a few dogs? What are you up to?" After stopping the bicycle, Chun Sanming chuckled and asked, pulling out an amber cigarette, intending to offer Qindong one. But Qindong waved his hand to indicate he didn't smoke. In his past life, Qindong smoked, but now he doesn't. Su Yin is pregnant. Moreover, this body has no craving for cigarettes. Qindong smiled. "Third uncle, I'm just taking Juzi into the mountains to pay respects to the godfathers. What are you and Donglian doing?" Chun Sanming smiled and replied, "We're busy with the land redistribution in the southern lowlands of the village and the agricultural production tasks issued by the county. So we need to discuss things with a few production team leaders." While Chun Sanming spoke, Chun Donglian looked gloomy, as if someone owed him a huge debt. Qindong gave a thumbs up and said with a smile, "Third uncle, you and your family are really working hard for our village, dedicating yourselves. Seeing you so busy makes me feel sorry for you." Chun Donglian snorted. "Xiao Wu, stop pretending to be sincere here. The orchard was leased to your dad. But look at what you've done." Upon hearing Chun Donglian's words, Qindong immediately shook his head, feigning innocence. "Donglian, I don't quite understand what you're saying. How am I pretending? What did I do wrong? I swear to heaven, since the day before yesterday when you and third uncle talked to me, I haven't said a single bad word about you in front of the people in our village. I've been praising you. In fact, many villagers now say I'm your 2 lackeys. If you say that about me, you're really heartless." Qindong acted very anxious, pounding his chest and stomping his feet. Juzi was fooled by Qindong's acting, and he slammed the iron rod on the ground, looking fierce. "Brother Wu, should we fight them?" He remembered his dad's words that when following Qindong out, he should listen to Qindong, and if anyone caused trouble for Qindong, he should protect him. Qindong quickly grabbed Juzi's hand. "Juzi, don't be impulsive, don't be impulsive. Third uncle, I really haven't said a bad word about you these past 2 days. You said I should speak more good words about you, but I haven't said a single bad word." Chun Sanming waved his hand at Chun Donglian. "Donglian, you little brat. Say less. Xiao Wu, I know you haven't said anything bad about me, but you praise me too much. There's no need to compliment me in front of everyone. Nor do you need to connect everything to me when others are talking about something. Just tone it down a bit in the future. To others, it seems like I rented the orchard to your father just to win you over. And lately, some people in our village have been deliberately tripping me up, saying I should give them benefits too. Why should I give you all the benefits and not them? Then they threaten me, saying if I don't give them benefits, they'll report me. I know you are praising me for my own good, but don't do it so much in the future, Chen Sanming said with a troubled expression. He almost wanted to say that if you keep praising me like this, I might end up getting reported by so many people in the village. Chen Dong exclaimed, slapping his thigh. No way. Am I really doing a good deed and getting it wrong? Third uncle, I didn't think that much. I just thought you were so good to me. I can't be ungrateful. Third uncle, tell me, who in our village saw my dad renting the orchard and got jealous enough to report you? I'll take care of them. My dad has been growing fruit trees for most of his life. If he can't manage the orchard, who can? How could anyone else do it well? Chen Dong said with righteous indignation. Chen Sanming quickly waved his hand. All right, Xiaowu, I won't tell you who is jealous, to avoid stirring up any trouble. I will use this excuse to say that if the orchard isn't managed by your father, it won't be managed well by anyone else. But Xiaowu, just be normal in the future, so others don't think I am colluding with you. Chen Dong scratched his head, looking serious. Third uncle, isn't what we're doing considered collusion? Chen Sanming. He felt a headache coming on and didn't know how to respond. Chen Donglian, on the side, said impatiently, Xiaowu, stop playing dumb. Who is colluding with you? My dad is the village head. He is dedicated to the people. Chen Dong quickly nodded. Right. Third uncle is dedicated to the people. Chen Sanming said sternly. Xiaowu, in the future, say less praise about me. Just act normally. Also, your dad is managing the orchard now, but if any situation arises and others don't want your dad to rent the orchard anymore, don't blame me for saying it up front. He really wanted to give Chen Dong a good beating. Chen Dong scratched his head and chuckled. Third uncle, don't feel pressured about this. Even if those people are jealous, they can't stop my dad from renting the orchard. I've already had Ermao take the orchard rental contract to the police station, and there is a department there that provides proof for the people. Since the contract is signed and the village committee agrees, those people won't be able to do anything about it. Let them talk to the police. I'm not forcing you to sublet the orchard to me, right, third uncle? Chen Sanming's face twitched as he said darkly, Xiaowu, you took the orchard rental contract to the police station? Why did you take the contract there? Chen Dong rubbed his nose and smiled. Third uncle, I was just worried about jealousy. Ermao came back the other day, and I talked to him about this. He said their police station has a department that provides proof, so I had him take the orchard rental contract with him. Third uncle, don't worry. Since the orchard is rented to my dad, it won't fall into someone else's hands before the contract ends. All right, third uncle, I'm leaving now. Shurgan dad's place is quite far. If I delay, Zhubu and I will have to return in the dark. Third uncle, don't worry, I won't praise you to others anymore. But if you see someone in the village you don't like, just tell me, and I'll take care of them. Ha 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 ha. A spark has ignited in the village. Chen Sanming looked at Chen Dong's back and cursed. I find you annoying. Originally, he was planning to find an opportunity to take back the orchard after 2 years. But if Chen Dong really put the contract in the police station, just thinking about it made his head hurt. Dad, I suspect this kid did it on purpose. He is deliberately praising you in front of other villagers to make them resent you. This is what they call surrounding way to rescue Zhao in the 36 strategies. Chen Donglian said impatiently. What surrounding way to rescue Zhao? I'm using a diversionary tactic here. Why are you dragging in the 36 strategies? He's just a big, rough hunter. How could he have so many schemes? He is just happy to have benefited and wants to perform well in front of me. Fearing that the orchard would be taken away, so he praises me whenever he sees someone, worried that someone might snatch the orchard away. But this kid's move is a bit tricky. With the contract at the police station, it will be a bit difficult to take the orchard later. Thinking of this, Chen Sanming shook his head in silence. When he first heard about Chen Dong praising him to everyone, he was actually quite happy. Having such a sycophant isn't a bad thing. But then, when he thought about how the villagers were using this to threaten him, Chen Sanming couldn't help but feel that human hearts are hard to read. When will Dongqing come back? He has been visiting his grandfather for several days, right? Chen Sanming thought again about his unreliable big nephew. Sometimes you need to be flexible when doing things. For example, if I want to bring down Chen Sanming, I don't need to confront him head-on. I can use the opportunity he gives me to have others praise him in front of the villagers, saying how good Chen Sanming is. This will create a backlash among the villagers, and make them mistakenly think I was bribed by Chun Sanming with benefits. At home, Zhou Honglian was reading the notes that Chen Dong had organized for her. The notes contained some insights on how to deal with various situations. These were some of the experiences Chen Dong had gathered over his lifetime, and of course, this was just a small part of it, and she was updating it as she thought. While writing these notes, Chen Dong sometimes played around and wrote while lying on Zhou Honglian's body. If many people are now thinking of using this to threaten Chen Sanming based on Chen Dong's notes, Chen Sanming must be having a headache right now. I didn't expect there to be so many intricacies in this. Chen Sanming might really end up getting imprisoned because of Chen Dong's excessive praise. And until he gets imprisoned, he would still think of Chen Dong as a sycophant, worrying about Chen Dong's orchard issue. Thinking about it is a bit scary. Zhou Honglian couldn't help but sigh. I wonder when Chen Dongsheng will come back. I'm still waiting to deal with him. As Chen Dong walked on the mountain road with Air Zhuzi, he couldn't help but think about Chen Dongsheng. Around 11 o'clock, after the two had walked nearly 30 miles into the old forest, they arrived in front of Shurgan Dad. In the area of piled stones, there were many incense ashes, paper money, and offerings of fruit plates, indicating that many people had come to pay their respects to this thunderstruck stone as their godfather. After chanting a few words, offering incense, burning paper money, and bowing to make wishes in one go, Chen Dong and Air Zhuzi moved to the flat ground aside, sat cross-legged, and planned to take out their food and jerky to eat. They would hurry back after finishing their meal. Just as they were eating, several gunshots rang out from a distance. Chapter 90, Godfather misled me. Bang, 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 with several consecutive gunshots. The sound of the gunshots was from a handgun. Chen Dong had obtained the marksmanship skills from the Spirit Spring space, so he was quite familiar with firearms and could easily recognize the sound of gunfire. In the old forest, using a handgun for hunting is clearly impossible. A handgun has a lethal range of about 100 meters at most. Generally, it's around 40 to 50 meters. But using a handgun for hunting? You'd have to be crazy to do that. A pistol is not only limited in its short killing range, but its killing power is also far from enough. If you were to shoot a wild boar with a pistol, unless at a very close distance, it would be difficult to hit a vital part and kill it. If you're not a hunter, then a series of gunshots raises suspicion. This made Chen Dong wary. De Huang, tell the two and the others to be quiet. Zhuzi, let's find a place to hide and keep silent. Chen Dong first instructed De Huang, then spoke to Zhuzi. There were a total of 5 dogs that came along, as well as a reindeer named De Li. After receiving Chen Dong's command, De Huang barked a few times, and the other 4 dogs fell silent. Chen Dong held the .56 pistol in his hand, while Zhuzi gripped an iron rod with a serious expression. The place where they had been eating was already cleaned up by Chen Dong. The more tense the situation, the more one needs to stay calm and pay attention to details. Although it was unlikely that those people would come this way, what if they did? So, it was important to pay attention to everything, as details determine success or failure. Let's go over there. Thinking about the person with the pistol possibly running toward them, Chen Dong led Zhuzi to hide behind a rock near a cliff. The 5 dogs followed closely, while the reindeer was tied to a small pine tree. He planned to hide with Zhuzi for a while before deciding what to do. In such a large area, it shouldn't be that they come to their hiding spot, right? Moreover, this was the territory of Stone Father. Surely he would protect his 2 godsons? Run, you can't escape. You are surrounded, surrender now. If you run again, don't blame us for being rude. Drop your weapons, raise your hands, and accept legal punishment. What the hell? If we didn't run, we'd be shot if you caught us. Chen Dong, from a distance, heard not only the gunfire, but also many voices. The police and the fierce words of those people made Chen Dong roughly guess what was happening. It must be that the police were capturing criminals. In this era, many criminals hide in the old forest, making it very difficult for the police and national security to catch them. Not just fugitives. This old forest often saw police and national security, even joint border troops, conducting operations to catch criminals, and sometimes even some old Russians crossing the border. The forest is so vast that it's indeed hard to catch them once they hide in it. What bad luck, to encounter such a thing in the old forest. My luck really stinks. Chen Dong thought to himself. For him, it was better to stay far away from such situations. However, hearing the police say they were surrounded, it was possible that there were police in other directions too. Rather than running, it was better to hide. He never thought about helping the police catch criminals. What kind of heroics were those? But as the gunfire and voices got closer, Chen Dong became somewhat anxious. In addition, he heard the sound of a pistol from another direction, along with voices and many dogs barking. Who dake you? You are surrounded. Surrender quickly. You can't escape now. Drop your weapons for leniency. Brothers, let us fight them. If we can't escape, we'll exchange our lives for theirs. Anything we can gain is worth it. These criminals wouldn't come to their hiding place, right? Listening to the increasingly close voices, Dong felt a bit worried. Daikyu, the paper money here is still smoking. There must be people around. We need to find them and take them hostage. Find them quickly. They can't have run far. They must be hiding. A few people shouted loudly. Hearing them say they saw the burning paper money and were shouting to find them as hostages made Dong's heart race. Damn it. Why is there still unburned paper money? Zhuzi and I finished paying respects to Stone Father half an hour ago. The paper money should have burned completely. But the scene still had smoke. Stone Father, are you intentionally not wanting your godson anymore? Wasn't I just thinking about encountering women from my past life when I prayed to you? And you pulled this stunt. Stone Father, you're messing with me. Believe it or not, I'll push you. Dong felt speechless. He held the 56 pistol, carefully listening to the sounds around him. If they really came this way, he would take action. He didn't want to get involved in such matters. But he heard these people wanted to take them hostage. If they really came this way, Dong could only brace himself and take action. Daikyu, there's a big one tied up here. It must be theirs. Find them. They must be nearby. Untie the big one and give it a good slap. It will definitely go look for its owner. Stop hiding. We already know you're nearby. If you don't want to die, come out quickly. Listening to their voices, Dong's heart sank. I forgot about Dali. I shouldn't have come with Zhuzi. This made Dong feel a bit regretful. If it had been him alone, he could have just stored Dali in the spiritual space. This was also the main reason why Dong preferred to be a lone wolf. If he was alone, he could use the spiritual space without any worries. He never expected that by going into the mountains to pay respects to a godfather, he would end up in such a situation. Dali, the reindeer, had been fed a drop of spiritual liquid every day by Dong and was very obedient. It would follow him closely without a rope. If they untied Dali and sent it to look for him, they could indeed find his location. Dali naturally didn't know that these people wanted to use it to trace him. Realizing this, Dong didn't hesitate. Instead, he cautiously poked his head out with his gun, looking at a person about dozens of meters away. He decisively fired at his leg. Chapter 91. The desperate criminal begs for mercy since he couldn't avoid it. He would just act. Dong steeled his heart, cautiously poking his head out. Aiming the 56 at a man standing next to a small tree dozens of meters away. Bang! One shot. It hit the man's thigh. The man fell to the ground, rolling and clutching his thigh in pain, screaming. Daikyu, that person is behind the rocks above. Damn, he shot at me. The man rolled behind a small pine tree, pointing up at his accomplices. Dong was in a higher position relative to them. When planning to hide, he had already thought that if the police were capturing criminals, those criminals, no matter how foolish, wouldn't run uphill, as it would make it easy to be surrounded. Right? But this group of police was skilled. They had already set up a perimeter to surround the criminals. Bang! From his elevated position, Dong fired again, hitting another man's thigh. Since he was going to act, he naturally wouldn't hesitate. Just do it. However, after firing 2 shots, the criminals reacted quickly, terrified and unwilling to show themselves. He had poked his head out and fired 2 shots as quickly as possible before retracting behind the rock. Already having an understanding of the positions of the criminals, he hadn't aimed to kill, but shot at their legs. Otherwise, if he had hit their upper bodies or aimed for their heads, they would be dead. The police want to catch them, but if he kills them, he fears the police will come after him later. At this moment, Dong urgently needs a handgun. If he has a handgun, he can shoot faster. And at such close range, the maneuverability of the handgun will be much higher. Bang, bang, bang. A series of gunshots rang out, splattering countless stone chips from the rocks where Dong was hiding. Chow, brothers, take this kid down. Damn it, he is actually shooting at us from behind. Lao Si and Lao Lang were shot in the legs. This guy is asking for death. Everyone, don't kill him. Let us try to capture him as a hostage. We're already surrounded. It'll be hard to escape. No matter who is up there, you'd better drop your weapon now. We want to harm you. But if you don't cooperate, don't blame us for being rude. That's right, we can't deal with those police and national security. But we can handle you. The criminals shouted at Dong, who was on the hillside above them. One of them yelled at the encircling police, "You filthy cops. Listen up. There's a hostage here. If you don't want the hostage to die, you all better stand down." After hearing this, the middle-aged national security officer in charge waved his hand and said to everyone, "Let us not act rashly. Gather everyone together and surround them so they can't escape for now, ensuring the hostage's safety. Wang, there are no civilians here, a national security officer said. Meanwhile, another male police officer remarked, I think Hudakue and the others are deliberately saying they're a hostage. The middle-aged national security officer, with a serious expression, replied, better to believe it than not. I know this area. Locals often come here to worship a stone as their godfather. It's possible someone is doing that right now. An older police officer nodded. That possibility can't be ruled out. Indeed, there are often civilians here. If there are civilians and they're taken hostage, it could be troublesome. We have been laying this trap for days, and it's not easy to corner them. A young police officer shook his head in disbelief. This group of fugitives, led by Hudakue, had committed multiple serious crimes in the black market, even killing 2 government officials, prompting a government order to capture them. In their escape, they had already killed several people. According to intelligence, they intended to cross the Old Forest and enter the territory of the Russians. If they made it across, it would be nearly impossible to catch them. After careful investigation and planning, national security finally located them and launched a siege. Despite injuring several national security officers and police, and even losing 4 officers, they finally cornered them in this area. However, there were civilians present, and the possibility of them becoming hostages made things complicated. National security and police comrades, you can deal with them freely. I am a hunter, armed with a 56 semi-automatic rifle. I've been hunting since I was young, and my aim is decent. Now I'm hiding behind a rock at a high spot. They can't do anything to me. Chen Dong shouted from behind the rock. Can I take out those 2? As he spoke, he raised his 56 semi-automatic rifle and peeked out from behind the rock, shooting at the location of one of the criminals based on his memory. Bang, bang, bang. He fired several shots in quick succession. He was cautious, worried that if he poked his head out too far, he might get shot. This was real gunfight. It wasn't like in some movies where people just stand out in the open and shoot at each other. Juzi, take this gun. When you hear Da Wang bark, do what I just did, raise the gun and shoot outside. Just shoot once and then retreat a bit before shooting again. You know how to do that, right? Chen Dong whispered as he handed his Mosin to Air Juzi. Air Juzi nodded and whispered back, Fifth brother, I can, but my aim isn't good. Although he was a bit simple-minded, as a descendant of mountain hunters, he had definitely handled guns before. Just shoot randomly, even if it's into the sky. It's fine, Chen Dong whispered, then seriously added, our lives are in danger now. You have to listen to me. Air Juzi nodded gravely. Okay, fifth brother, I understand. Da Huang, make sure Dado and the others stay quiet, and come over here. Chen Dong patted Da Huang's head, and quietly instructed Dado and the other 3 dogs. He certainly couldn't rely on the police. Handing his fate over to others wasn't his style. He was already formulating a plan to deal with these criminals. My fate is in my own hands. Just then, as Chen Dong had this thought, he suddenly saw a milky white glow emanating from the 7-colored jade plaque in the spiritual spring space. Then, a small palm-sized round mirror floated above the jade plate. Because of the previous appearance of the Rui Pearl, Chen Dong wasn't too surprised by the emergence of this small round mirror. Could it be that his mental state triggered a reward from the spiritual spring space? His consciousness entered the small round mirror in the next moment. Heart Observation Mirror. This small round mirror was called the Heart Observation Mirror, and when his consciousness infused into it, a real-time image of the area within 100 meters appeared in his mind. It was like having a holographic map. It refreshed once a day and lasted for 5 minutes. What made Chen Dong even happier was that the refresh could stack. That is to say, if he refreshed today but didn't use it, then the next day he would have 10 minutes. This would continue to accumulate. If he went 10 days without using it, it would be equivalent to having 50 minutes of access to the holographic map. Every 5 minutes would count as one activation. And once activated, it would consume 5 minutes of time. This spiritual spring space was truly powerful. It was like a pillow being delivered when he was sleepy. He was initially thinking about taking a risk and confronting those people, but unexpectedly, he triggered a hidden reward. The key was that this hidden reward was perfect for his current situation. 5 minutes of the Heart Observation Mirror was enough for him. With that thought, Chen Dong didn't hesitate and activated the Heart Observation Mirror. When it unfolded, the image within 100 meters presented itself before him from a god's eye view. Through the image provided by the Heart Observation Mirror, he discovered that 30 meters below, 3 people were hiding behind a rock. Meanwhile, on the side of his hiding spot, 2 people were quietly making their way over from another direction. less than 20 meters from where he was. That was close. These criminals were smart. They knew to attract attention while quietly sneaking over. If Chen Dong had acted according to his earlier thoughts, he might have been discovered. One must not underestimate others, especially those vicious criminals before him. For them, he was essentially their lifeline. If they captured him, they would have leverage to negotiate with the police. However, with the assistance of the heart observation mirror, Chen Dong knew how to deal with them. Villagers on the mountain, I'm the police from Shuiyuan County. Stay safe. If you're really confident in dealing with them, it's okay to shoot one or two of them. A man's loud voice came from not far away. Shoot one or two. The police and national security in this era are really bold. They allow enthusiastic citizens to shoot criminals. Received, comrades from the public security. Just watch how I help you catch these bad guys. Chen Dong shouted loudly, and after finishing, he grabbed the 56 semi-automatic rifle, and then, crouching down, he stealthily approached a large rock more than 10 meters above. He let the dog Da Huang bark, and after hearing Da Huang bark, Zhuzi received the order and raised his hands high, then fired a shot blindly ahead. Chen Dong, lying above, aimed his gun at one man's head. From this angle, he could see the person clearly. This man was attracted by Zhuzi's direction, and completely didn't he expect that the hostages they wanted to catch were not one person, but two. One was Han Han, and the other was Lao Lu. Bang! A gunshot rang out. This man's head exploded. Kue Gu. Lao Wan has been shot in the head. One criminal shouted angrily upon seeing his companion shot. Bang! Another gunshot. This man was shot in the head. He was dead. The public security approved his quota to shoot two people, and he completed it with 2 shots. After firing the 2 shots, he quickly changed his position under the observation of the heart-watching mirror, moving to a place where he could hit another person. He didn't use a gun. Instead, he took out a horn bow from the spirit spring space. Drawing the bow and knocking an arrow, he shot it out, aiming directly at this man's thigh. Oh, Kue Gu, I've been shot. After hitting this man with an arrow, Chen Dong quietly moved through the forest under the observation of the heart-watching mirror. When he found a suitable shooting position, he drew the bow and knocked an arrow without saying a word. He shot an arrow at this man's butt. At the same time, Da Huang barked according to Chen Dong's command. After receiving the signal, Zhuzi fired another shot. Ah, Kue Gu, there are at least 2 more people here. The man shot in the butt yelled loudly. Chen Dong whispered to Da Huang. Da Huang, let the 2 and the others run in different directions down the mountain. Upon getting closer to them, he discovered that there were indeed 2 more people hiding below. If it weren't for the observation of the heart-watching mirror, Chen Dong would never have thought that there were 2 others who wanted to be Lao Lu just like him. After receiving Chen Dong's order, Da Huang whimpered a few times, and 5 dogs ran in 5 different directions down the mountain, creating the illusion of many people. The commotion created by Da Huang's 5 dogs, along with Chen Dong's earlier shooting of 2 people and wounding 2 others, frightened the remaining 3 men to death. You bunch of bastards actually thought about taking us as hostages. Today, we will send you to the west. Chen Dong deliberately tightened his voice, sounding very rough as he shouted. One of the earlier arrogant men who had demanded Chen Dong put down his weapon and surrender was now scared and shouted, "Fellow villager, spare us, please show mercy. Comrades from public security, we surrender, please come quickly and make these villagers stop." The leader among these criminals, having been scared out of his wits, directly begged for mercy. Chapter 92. At that time, I was extremely nervous, so I shot 2 people. When more than 100 armed public security and national security officers rushed in and subdued Hu Dakwai and the other 9, Chen Dong led 5 dogs, along with Zhuzi, out, pretending to look nervously at the surrounding public security and national security officers. He was indeed a bit nervous. After all, facing so many armed officers without fear would be abnormal. Besides, he felt a strange excitement. After all, he had shot 2 people and wounded 4. This feeling was much more thrilling than shooting prey. Fellow villager, just the 2 of you? A middle-aged national security officer named Guo Zhonghai looked at Chen Dong and Zhuzi and then asked in disbelief. Chen Dong nodded. Yes, just the 2 of us. This Guo Zhonghai was the captain of the black market national security. He was the leader of this operation to capture Hu Dakwai and his gang. Guo Zhonghai said, "Just now, I heard a hoarse voice speaking." Chen Dong deliberately lowered his voice, imitating what the hoarse voice had said earlier, claiming that he had shouted on purpose and made the hunting dogs run in different directions to create the illusion that they had many people. "The one who shot arrows and fired guns was you?" Guo Zhonghai asked in disbelief. The public security and national security officers standing beside Guo Zhonghai all had expressions of disbelief on their faces. Dong nodded. Yes, it was me. Wow, comrade. You are amazing. How did you do it? You scared them all by yourself, making them think there were many people. Impressive, really impressive. A young male public security officer wearing thick glasses couldn't help but give a thumbs up. Dong said, I had 2 guns and a bow and arrow. So I let my brother shoot blindly from a distance, while I moved to a place where I could see them. After my brother fired, I followed up with shots and killed 2 of them. Then I quickly moved closer to the other 2, finding a place where I was sure to hit them, and shot 2 arrows at them. I also had my 5 hunting dogs run down, coordinating with me, speaking in a different voice to create the illusion of many people. This male public security officer patted Dong's shoulder in admiration. You're amazing. In such a situation, you could remain so calm. Impressive, truly impressive. Guo Zhonghai also nodded in agreement. Indeed, you were very calm. Dong scratched his head, pretending to be humble. Thank you, Captain Guo, for the compliment. And thank you to this public security comrade for the praise. I've been hunting with my father since I was young, and he always taught me to stay calm while hunting. Actually, I was quite nervous at the time, but luckily what I did was useful and successfully scared them. I killed 2 of them. That's okay, right? I was really afraid they would rush up, so I shot 2 to scare them. Dong pretended to be very nervous. Guo Zhonghai shook his head. It's okay, you shot them with our consent, so you can rest assured. Not only are you not guilty, but I will also apply for a commendation for you. However, you need to assist us in an investigation in the city. Dong shook his head like a rattle drum. Captain Guo, just forget about the commendation. I don't want any accolades. I'd rather not stand out in such matters. The young male public security officer with glasses asked, Comrade Chen, where are you from? You're quite young, but your hunting skills are impressive. Dong pointed in the direction of Chun Liutuan, from Chun Liutuan in Dafeng Town. But as soon as he said this, he realized it was wrong. Because those 9 criminals were being handcuffed by the public security officers. Kid, we admit we fell into your hands. But you better hope we don't have anyone alive to come back, or else just wait. Hu Dakwai, with his wrists sore from being handcuffed, grimaced in pain and shouted fiercely. A public security officer punched Hu Dakwai hard on the back, causing him to cry out in pain. Dong, hearing this, showed a worried expression. Guo Zhonghai signaled to take the people away and then comforted Dong. Comrade Shun, don't worry, he can't escape. And the crimes they committed are enough to get them executed 10 times over. You can rest assured about this. Dong nodded, but deep down, he felt some unease. If I had known, I would have killed this Hu Dakwai. Dong certainly believed Guo Zhonghai's words. During this era, the crackdown was so severe that Hu Dakwai would definitely be executed. He shouldn't have worried. However, although he felt that what he said was unlikely to happen, he still had some concerns. At around 5 in the afternoon, Dong, Zhuzi, and 2 police officers arrived at Chun Liutuan. They were going to the city to cooperate with the investigation, as they happened to be at the scene, and Dong even shot 2 people and injured 4 others. Cooperation with the investigation was only natural. However, Dong did not tell Su Yun and Zhou Honglian the specifics, just saying that he coincidentally encountered national security and police handling a case in the mountains, and that he and Zhuzi were going to participate in the investigation. For this reason, the accompanying police officers specifically told Su Yun and Zhou Honglian that they had nothing to worry about. They were simply cooperating with the investigation. And if there were any issues, Dong and Zhuzi would receive rewards. They assured the 2 women that there was no bad news, so they could rest easy. 8 dogs were left at home by Dong, and he instructed Da Huang to protect Su Yun and Zhou Honglian well. Dong even used the Rui Pearl, which refreshed its ability once a day, to observe the events that would trigger Su Yun's emotional threshold in the next 3 days. The things happening to Su Yun were all minor issues, which reassured Dong about their safety. He asked Su Yun to inform her parents not to overthink things or spread news about the matter. After explaining all this, Dong, Zhuzi, and the 2 police officers left and headed towards the town. According to National Security's plan, they borrowed 2 vehicles from the town's police station to go to the county, and then borrowed a van from the county police bureau to go to the black market. Zhou Honglian was curious about what exactly Dong and Zhuzi were helping the police and national security with, and what rewards they might receive. Su Yun replied seriously, Sister Honglian, let's not think too much about this, and we shouldn't tell others. Dong is out there, and we need to settle things at home. When he comes back and sees that we're fine, he will feel more at ease when he goes out again. As the head of the family, Suyin now had to stabilize the household. Chapter 93. Heir Zhuzi. This is my first time sleeping with Brother Wu, and I think it's pretty good. They arrived in the county city on a tricycle around 6 in the evening. They took a van from the county police bureau to the city. For dinner, the county police had packed some food for them in the car. Qindong did not show off by telling the two city police officers that his good buddy was an intern at the county police. On the road, the two police officers praised Qindong's shooting skills, noting how he and Heir Zhuzi managed to scare a group of vicious criminals into surrendering, which was impressive. Especially Qindong, who relied on the terrain, used different weapons, and moved strategically, creating a formidable presence with the help of 5 dogs. He was indeed a combat genius. A police officer named Yang Wei even invited Qindong to become a police officer, but Qindong politely declined, saying he was just a hunter and didn't understand police work. Who would be more comfortable than being a boss? He preferred to make money through business. They arrived at the city police bureau at 11 at night, and after undergoing police questioning and completing the paperwork, it was already past midnight. The black market was about 170 to 180 kilometers away from Shana County, and since it was night and the roads weren't very smooth, reaching the black market in 5 hours was already quite good. If they had taken a minibus, it would have taken 6 to 7 hours. The city police arranged for them to stay in a guest house and also organized a vehicle for them to go to Shanha County the next day, as the Shanha County police would be coming to the city to handle a case, and they could catch a ride with them. There were only 2 minibuses from the black market to Shanha County, and they were as crowded as dumplings during the new year. Qindong and the others were there to cooperate with the city police, so the police would naturally take care of their return. In addition, they were given several meal tickets for the guest house, which they could use for breakfast the next morning. According to a police captain named Guochangquan, they would receive certain rewards for assisting the police in capturing major criminals, which would be delivered to their homes by the county police. Qindong wanted to return home the next day, but by the time he got back, it would be afternoon, and he could go into the mountains the day after to search for a century-old wild ginseng in Xiongxiazi Valley. Making money was the way to go. His good buddy DeFei worked at a textile factory in the black market, and besides that, his second aunt and third uncle also lived there. However, he decided not to visit them this time. He would find time to see them later. It could be said that transportation in this era was indeed inconvenient. If it were in the future, it would only take a little over an hour to get from the black market to his home. It wouldn't take 6 to 7 hours as it does now. That is only slightly faster than pedaling a 2/8 bike. In the guest house room, Heir Zhuzi lay on the soft bed, grinning foolishly as he said, "Brother Wu, the beds in the city are so soft, hee." He was lying on a bed with a white sheet and a spring mattress, swaying back and forth. They had already taken a shower. Heir Zhuzi initially didn't want to wash, but Qindong urged him to do so, saying that if he didn't wash, he would have to sleep outside, as he couldn't stand his own smell. Qindong's words made Heir Zhuzi shy, and he ended up taking a shower. Qindong even had the audacity to ask the guest house staff for a set of clothes suitable for Heir Zhuzi. Since a small team leader from the city police had brought them into the guest house, the staff did not underestimate them. However, they humorously found a white chef's uniform for Heir Zhuzi. According to the guest house staff, Heir Zhuzi was tall and big, and they happened to have a chef whose physique was similar to his. The electric lights in the room, the bathroom, the vanity, the large ceiling fan overhead, and the twinkling lights from many houses outside felt like a grand adventure for Heir Zhuzi. Although the black market was a border city, it was not small in scale, and its urban development was not too far behind compared to other cities of the same era. The power supply was reliable. Qindong laughed and said, "Zhuzi, in the future, work hard in the fields. Once you make money, Brother Wu will help you buy a soft bed, and then we can find you a beautiful wife." Okay. Heir Zhuzi chuckled in response to Qindong's words. Qindong replied, "You little brat are still a wife chaser." In the morning, Heir Zhuzi told Qindong that he had a keen nose and unique talent, from the scents on Qindong and Zhou Honglian. He thought Zhou Honglian was his newly married wife, which left Qindong stunned. Qindong did not hide it, admitting that Zhou Honglian could be considered his wife, but he told Heir Zhuzi not to tell anyone else. He also learned from Heir Zhuzi that some men in the village had the scent of other women on them. For example, Chen Sanming had the scent of several women from the village. Some were widows, and some were married. Qindong found it hard to believe that Chen Sanming even had the scent of his daughter-in-law, Zhao Damei. Many in the village knew about Chen Sanming's affairs with other women, and it was even said that the village accountant knew about it and had opened the door for them. However, What surprised Qindong was that Chen Saming was actually involved with his daughter-in-law. How would Qindong react if he found out about this? As for the young women and widows in the village, Qindong had no interest at all, not even a little. Having seen so many beautiful women and being wealthy in his past life, he thought it was ridiculous to only want to chase after village women after being reborn. Of course, mainly it's the rural women who don't catch his eye. To be blunt, only Zhou Honglian is beautiful and has a great figure. Plus, Suyin asked him to form a group, which is why Qindong had a relationship with Zhou Honglian. Otherwise, no matter how beautiful or stunning Zhou Honglian was, Qindong probably wouldn't have noticed her. Heir Zhuzi's talent is no wonder uncle you told him not to tell others. If the government found out about this, they would definitely take him for research. In this era, many talented individuals have been recruited by the state. According to folk gossip, the government has a special organization for people with extraordinary abilities, gathering individuals with such abilities from all over the country. As a reincarnator, Qindong indeed heard about this organization from many big bosses in his previous life. The country once had talents in this area, and even renowned scientific giants were obsessed with studying theology in their later years. Hence, their essay saying, "The end of science is theology." Hee. Hearing Qindong say this, Heir Zhuzi scratched his head and chuckled. The two chatted for a while, and Heir Zhuzi was tossing and turning in bed restlessly. Qindong asked, "Zhuzi, what's wrong? Are you not familiar with the place and can't sleep?" Heir Zhuzi responded, then grinned foolishly. "It's my first time sleeping with Brother Wu. Thinking about it feels weird." While he spoke, his stomach growled. Qindong's forehead twitched. "What do you mean by sleeping with me? You should say you're sharing a room with me." What this silly guy said made it sound like they had a special relationship. "Come on, Zhuzi, get up. I'll take you to the restaurant over there to eat something." Hearing Heir Zhuzi's stomach growl, Qindong sat up. He was also a bit unable to sleep. Earlier, when he arrived at the guest house, he saw a few restaurants with their lights on about 200 to 300 meters away. He planned to take Heir Zhuzi to eat something at the restaurant. So, he took Heir Zhuzi, who was dressed in a chef's outfit, out of the guest house and headed towards the street with the restaurants. They found a northeast restaurant and walked in one after the other. But when Qindong saw a few people eating inside, he was taken aback because he never expected to run into them here. Heir Mao and Lin Hongxing, dressed in casual clothes, along with De Fei and a few men Qindong didn't recognize. Seeing Heir Mao and De Fei surprised Qindong. To run into them near the black market guest house was quite unexpected. Heir Mao, De Fei, what the hell? How did you two end up together? Qindong approached with a smile, then greeted Lin Hongxing. "Hello, Officer Lin." "What the hell? What the hell?" Qindong was a bit confused, not understanding how Heir Mao and De Fei were gathered here, and Lin Hongxing was also with them. His mind raced. Did Heir Mao manage to get together with Lin Hongxing, the daughter of the police chief? And did he come to show off to De Fei? But that doesn't make sense. Why wouldn't he come to show off to me? Isn't Shanha County closer? Heir Mao, whose face was flushed from drinking, was initially stunned to see Qindong and Heir Zhuzi in front of him. Then he suddenly stood up, patted Qindong on the shoulder, and laughed. "Xiao Wu, damn. How did you end up in the black market? And you even came here. Did you smell something and come over?" De Fei, who had a little tuft of hair, a mole on his lip, and a thin face, also stood up and patted Qindong's shoulder, smiling. "Yeah, Xiao Wu, how did you get here? Just a moment ago, Heir Mao was talking about you, saying you've become a great hunter, making money from hunting and getting rich." Qindong patted De Fei's shoulder and laughed. "Rich? I'm just getting by." The two then invited Qindong and Heir Zhuzi to sit down. Under Heir Mao's explanation, Qindong learned how he ended up here. It turned out he came to the city with his brother-in-law, Jiang Igua, to investigate a case, aiming to handle that major case. Heir Mao, Lin Hongxing, and a couple of other policemen came along. Qindong briefly explained why he and Heir Zhuzi were at the black market. He didn't mention how he shot 2 criminals and scared off the remaining ones. He just said they went to meet their godfather and helped the police catch a fugitive, and the police invited them to the city for an investigation. "You and Heir Zhuzi are so lucky. Just meeting your godfather leads to such things. Your godfather must be really fond of you," Heir Mao joked. Qindong shook his head and pouted. "I'd rather not have this honor. Encountering such things is quite scary." Qindong knew what major case Heir Mao was talking about. It was related to the crimes committed by Huang Tianbao. When he returned home 2 days ago, he mentioned that Huang Tianbao had been arrested, and at the same time, Dong Dajuan was also captured. Huang Tianbao committed many crimes, and 2 of the cases were at the black market police station, so they came to investigate the files. It was inevitable that he would be sentenced to death. However, They had to clarify all the crimes he committed to Judge Huang Tianbao's actions effectively. On the other hand, it could also provide merits for the police handling the case. After hearing Mao say this, Dong understood that according to the arrangements from the city police station, they would definitely return with Mao and the others. Mao came to the black market, ran around all day, and in the evening, called Defei out. Defei brought 2 of his buddies to eat and drink with Mao. The 3 of them unexpectedly gathered in the black market, which made Dong feel it was quite a coincidence. Mao's place was right next to the guest house, which was why Dong could encounter them. They ate and drank until 1:30 in the morning before everyone dispersed. Mao had some work to do tomorrow morning, so he went back to the guest house early to rest, mainly because Lin Hongxing and the 2 young policemen came along. So he felt it was inappropriate to drink too late. Zhuzi went back with Mao, and Defei said he would stay with Dong for a while longer. Xiao Wu, you and Mao are doing well now. You're hunting and growing orchards. And Mao is working in the police department. It's all pretty good. Defei took a puff from a ginseng-branded cigarette and smiled. Dong smiled back. Defei, you're doing quite well too, working at the city textile factory. That's a stable job. I'm just a farmer hunting and growing orchards. Can't compare to your stable job. It's better to have a stable job. Defei's brother-in-law was the head of the technical department at the city textile factory, so Defei would have a good time working there for the next few years. Later, when the textile factory's performance declined and underwent large-scale layoffs, Dong and Defei, along with his brother-in-law, cooperated to make them regional agents for his clothing factory. They lived quite well in the latter half of their lives. Remembering those who helped you, Dong naturally wanted to lend them a hand since he started with their support. Defei shook his head and chuckled. My textile factory job is just a small salary. It's not enough to have fun. Xiao Wu, let us go? Let us find a better place to drink, and I'll show you some sights. Dong laughed. Where are we going? And what sights are you going to show me? Defei is someone who enjoys having fun, smoking, drinking, and hanging out at half-open doors. In his previous life, he changed girlfriends every few days, got married only at 40, and then divorced after just 2 years. He lived with 2 boys. And it wasn't until he got beaten up and broke a leg that he became more honest. Defei reached out and hooked Dong's neck. Chuckling, you'll know when you go. Half-open door? If it's a half-open door, I won't go. I have a wife. Dong said seriously. Half-open door? Forget it. He has a beautiful wife at home and a stunning sister-in-law with an amazing figure. Why would he look for a half-open door? That's just crazy. His experiences in his previous life made him obsessed with more women. However, if he were to find someone, he wanted a clean woman. Defei shook his head and laughed. I'm not taking you to a half-open door. I'm taking you to a place to listen to music and drink. Come on, you'll see. I promise it's exciting. The place isn't far from the guest house where you're staying. Soon, Defei and his friends, riding their bicycles with flashlights, arrived at a place just 2 miles from the guest house. They greeted a strong man at the gate, then pushed their bicycles inside, parking them at what seemed like the entrance of an old factory. After locking up, Defei led Dong inside. This was indeed a large factory. The far end was separated by black cloth, and upon entering, they could hear the sound of an old foreign music playing from a tape recorder. Amidst the music, there were sounds of clinking glasses, drunken men talking, and women's voices. 5 tickets. Defei pulled out a large bill and handed it to a big, bearded man at the entrance. The big man handed 5 hard paper cards back to Defei, then tilted his head, signaling 2 others to come forward for a search, adding to the mysterious atmosphere. Dong couldn't help but chuckle. After the search, they were allowed to proceed. Once they entered the areas separated by black cloth, after turning a few corners, their vision brightened. It was the bright glow from several stone lamps placed on a pillar. In the separated space of hundreds of square feet, there were many stone lamps. In the middle, there was a small stage, and several women with revealing outfits and curvy bodies were dancing on poles. Dong was momentarily taken aback. Defei nudged Dong's arm and leered. Xiao Wu, how is it? Exciting, right? There's more exciting stuff coming up. Chapter 95. This idiot Defei moved even the crafty Dong. Looking at Defei's eager gaze fixed on the women dancing on the pole, Dong smiled politely. Yeah, it's quite interesting. He wanted to say, is that it? Honestly, the women dancing on the pole were heavily made up. With varying body types, none of them caught Dong's eye. Seeing them even made him feel a bit nauseous. However, he had to give Defei and his friend some face. After all, they brought him to this interesting place. The main thing was that in his previous life, Dong had seen too many such shows. While doing business with other bosses, he had encountered numerous similar projects. And the ones played by the big bosses in the harbor city were much more extravagant. Not to mention pole dancing, there were also strip shows, all featuring fair-skinned, beautiful women with long legs, many of whom were just starting out as entertainers in the harbor city. Therefore, Qindong was not impressed by the women performing this overtly suggestive dance. Defei led Qindong to a small round table near the stage, and while sipping tea and eating sunflower seeds, he stared intently at the women dancing on the pole. Defei and his 3 friends occasionally burst into lewd laughter, and the other men sitting around also laughed in a similar manner. This place had a vibe similar to what would later develop into a dance hall. Qindong glanced around, noticing that under the bright lights of the stone lamps, about 70 to 80 men of all ages were seated in the tent, all in one group. He looked around, mainly to see if there were any potentially dangerous individuals nearby. When out and about, safety is paramount. Here they come. Here they come. Defei nudged Qindong and reminded him with a grin. Then, the women who were dancing on the pole started taking off their clothes. Qindong, I can't bear to look. It's a bit too much. Hearing many men around him shout excitedly, Qindong felt a bit embarrassed and fidgety. Damn it. How did this kid Xiao Wu end up here? Just after finishing a business outside. Qindongqing was watching the show when he spotted Qindong and Defei sitting a few tables away, close to the stage. After seeing Qindong, he hesitated for a moment, considering whether to approach, but then thought better of it and retreated, whispering to his cousin Zhang Kun. Kunzi, did you see that kid? I have some issues with him. Can you wait until the show is over and let Lu Ge and the others deal with him? He had come to the black market to visit his grandfather and planned to leave in a couple of days. His cousin Zhang Kun said he would show him some fun. Watching the pole dance and strip show left him wide-eyed. He hadn't expected to run into Qindong here. This reminded Qindongqing of the 2 times he had been beaten by Qindong, making him feel a sense of animosity upon seeing him. Is he the tall and handsome one? Zhang Kun asked in a low voice, looking towards Qindong. Qindongqing nodded. Yeah, that's him. He is from the same village as me. I'll wait by the entrance. If he sees me, he'll definitely think I'm the one who sent you to beat him. After being beaten by Qindong twice, Qindongqing had learned to hide and plot against him. As for wanting to kill Qindong, he was just talking big. Zhang Kun nodded. Cousin, just watch. I'll show you how to deal with this kid. Qindongqing thought of something and reminded him. Just beat him up and run. Zhang Kun laughed dismissively. Cousin, don't worry. There are more than 10 of us. We can beat him up and run away. Can he even catch us? He followed a big boss who mingled in the black market and had done plenty of fighting and scuffles, rarely getting caught in the act. After hearing this, Qindongqing left the tent, even though he felt a bit reluctant to look at the women dancing on stage. But thinking about beating Qindong up, he resolutely left. Soon, after half an hour, the women finished their passionate dancing, and the performance ended, with many men clapping and laughing. Defei leaned close to Qindong's ear and whispered, Xiao Wu, are you interested in any of the ones on stage? If you are, we can pool some money for you to have some fun in a small room in the back. Qindong shook his head. No, I'm not interested in these women at all. Do you think I'm as lewd as you? Damn, Defei's words made me feel a bit disgusted. I'm just here to keep you company and watch them dance awkwardly. The key is, you little brat, after sleeping with a half-open door woman, you still want to raise money. Just earlier, Defei mentioned that if someone caught your eye, you could go find them after the show ended. $10 a time. $10 to scrape together. Qindong was genuinely amused by Defei's ridiculous antics, and he was also touched. He knew he didn't have much money, so he first took them to a restaurant next to the guest house for a meal. Then he brought them here to watch a striptease performance. He even had to scrape together money for him to sleep with a woman behind a half-closed door. This moved Qindong, the profiteer, greatly. Defei, I see you staring at that big-bottomed woman for quite a while, drooling a lot. Are you thinking something? Qindong patted Defei on the shoulder and laughed. Defei chuckled. I do have some thoughts, but I'm a bit short on cash right now. I was thinking if you were interested, Old Lee and the others could pool together $10 or $8, and it wouldn't be a problem for you to enjoy yourself once. After all, you came from so far, and if I don't treat you with hospitality, it wouldn't be right. But since you're not interested, then let's go. Even if I were interested, I can't just let my buddies wait around. Let's go, let's go. Qindong reached into his pocket, and then, with a thought from the spiritual space, he took out 10 bills and stuffed them into Defei's hand. Defei, this money is for you. Consider it my treat for you and the guys to enjoy yourselves. You've already treated me to dinner and brought me here, which is very hospitable. When Defei saw Qindong hand him a wad of cash, he was stunned for a moment, scratching his head, and saying irritably, Xiao Wu, what do you mean? I'm supposed to treat you, and you're giving me money. Dong put his arm around De Fei's shoulder and laughed. De Fei, you silly fool. Why are we being so polite between ourselves? We're not outsiders. Take this money and treat the guys. Save the rest for yourself. Hurry and take the guys to find them. Otherwise, they might get busy first. I'll wait for you outside where I parked. De Fei grinned. All right. I'll consider this money a loan from you, and I'll pay you back when I have money in the future. Guys, let's go and enjoy ourselves. A man named Oldly patted Dong on the shoulder and laughed. Bro, I recognize your friend. Just come to the black market to find me in the future. Xiao Wu, you're a righteous man. In the future, if you come to the black market and encounter any problems, no matter if I can help or not, just let me know. I'll accompany you through thick and thin, said a chubby-faced man in a very exaggerated manner. De Fei and the others chuckled and walked towards the back, with De Fei even saying to let Dong wait for them. They would be quick. Dong thought to himself that if it were him, he would have made them wait until dawn. He walked out of the factory and headed towards the direction where the bicycle was parked. Just as he was about to reach the parking area, someone bumped forcefully into his back. Kid, are you blind? You bumped into me. Do you want to get beaten up? A tall, strong man pushed Dong's shoulder hard and said fiercely. At the same time, someone beside him shone a flashlight in his face. The bright light made it hard for him to open his eyes. Without any hesitation, Dong activated the heart observation mirror function. He wasn't inexperienced. In such a dark environment, when the flashlight shone in his eyes, it would take a while for his vision to return to normal. If someone wanted to deal with him and beat him up, he would be as blind as a bat, unable to see who was hitting him. With the heart observation mirror activated, the situation within 100 meters was clear to him, and the images in his mind were as bright as daylight. Although the heart observation mirror could only refresh its function once a day, using it at the right time was quite precious. The day had just begun, and he had already used his opportunity to refresh it. He didn't know if anything else would happen today, but Dong still didn't hesitate. Since he had this ability, he might as well use it. He couldn't just wait to get beaten up. Hey, I'm walking in front. Clearly, you bumped into me first. You have to be reasonable. Through the heart observation mirror, Dong saw that besides the tall, strong man, there were more than 10 others surrounding him. Damn it. Watching the pole dance and strip show, he unexpectedly encountered such thugs wanting to fight. Sometimes, in this era, street thugs wouldn't reason with you at all. They would just beat you up. While speaking, a 65cm synthetic leather-armed belt appeared in Dong's hand. The tall, strong man laughed and was about to slap Dong in the face. Hey, kid, do you expect me to be reasonable? Let's see if my slap can reason with you. However, before his slap could reach Dong's face, he felt a shadow rushing towards him. Slap. A crisp sound echoed. The tall, strong man immediately felt a fiery pain on his face, causing him to cover his face and scream in agony. Damn, you dare to hit me. He never expected Dong would strike so suddenly, completely catching him off guard. Everyone, let's all take this kid down together. We must beat him up. Seeing their comrade being hit by Dong, the remaining people rushed towards Dong, throwing punches and kicks. Dong directly grabbed one person's arm and threw him forward like tossing a sandbag. With his tremendous strength, the person crashed heavily into 3 others. The strong impact knocked the 3 down, and 2 of them cried out in pain. Seeing a clear path ahead, Dong took a big stride and rushed out of the crowd. With his speed, those people couldn't stop him at all. This kid is running away. Everyone chase him. We can't let him escape. We must beat him to death. Damn it, we absolutely can't let this kid get away. Hey, kid, don't run. You're in trouble now. Kid, stop right there. After breaking free from the crowd, Dong turned back and shouted, You guys come chase me. Huh? Run away? I was just trying to break free from your circle. I never thought of running away. If they wanted to mess with him, would he let them go? Absolutely not. Let's fight it out. He pretended to run forward, not using his full speed, making those chasing him feel they had a chance. One person was getting closer to him. Dong suddenly turned around and swung the armed belt at this person's head with force. Slap. The person fell to the ground, clutching his head and crying out in pain. The armed belt was made of synthetic leather. Hitting someone with it was no less damaging than a whip. Moreover, after being enhanced by the spiritual water, Dong's strength was extraordinary, roughly twice that of an average man. As for his running speed, he was as fast as the 100-meter champion Bolt. His reflexes were equally impressive. Of course, his endurance was exceptional too. Even a strong woman like Zhou Honglian couldn't withstand it. Seeing that they were scattering while chasing him, Shundong turned back and charged towards them. Slap. The armed belt struck another person's forehead. That person also fell to the ground, crying out in pain. Next came Shundong's relentless assault on them. Slap, slap, slap. With the armed belt, he struck them one by one, followed by several powerful kicks. In less than 2 minutes, all 12 of them were knocked down. In this dark environment, even though they had a few flashlights, their vision was still obstructed, while Shundong's vision was as bright as daylight. Given Shundong's speed and reflexes far exceeded theirs, it was only reasonable that he could easily defeat them. He is in a hurry, after all. The function of the mind-viewing mirror only lasts for 5 minutes. Once the time passes, although Shundong is not afraid of them, at worst, he can use the 36 strategies to escape. But he feels uneasy. Just look at you bunch of kids wanting to act tough. When I was hustling, you were still playing in the mud, Shundong said fiercely. He didn't hit them hard. Otherwise, even if he used the armed belt against them with all his strength, it could kill a few. It's just dealing with some small-time thugs. He didn't need to go hard on them. A good beating would suffice. Kid, we are with the South Street 8 brothers. Just you wait. I know you came from the countryside, and I know your background. Just wait. We definitely won't let you go, Zhang Kuan, who had been hit hard in the face with the armed belt by Shundong, threatened loudly, grimacing in pain. Shundong, who initially thought this would end there, was stunned for a moment after hearing Zhang Kuan's words, then stepped forward and coldly asked while stepping on his chest, "Tell me, who sent you to deal with me? If you don't say, I'll ruin you." As he spoke, the armed belt in Shundong's hand struck Zhang Kuan's head fiercely. This time, it was much harder than before. They targeted him with a purpose. Knowing his background made it impossible for Shundong not to take it seriously. They knew his background. He wanted to find out who sent these thugs to deal with him. Zhang Kuan screamed in pain as the armed belt hit his head, twisting his body trying to turn over, but his chest was heavily stepped on by Shundong. The pain in his head and the severe pain in his chest scared Zhang Kuan into blurting out, "It's my cousin Shundongqing. He told me that you have a grudge against him, and that you are from the same village, and that I should beat you up. Big brother, I was wrong. I was wrong. Please let me go. Please let me go. I'm sorry, cousin. This kid is ruthless. I could only give you up. Anyway, you and he are from the same village. He can't do anything to you." When Shundong heard that the person sent to deal with him was actually Shundongqing, he couldn't help but laugh. He had been thinking about finding Shundongqing these days to take him out. He didn't expect to run into him in the black market. And he even sent someone to deal with him. Shundongqing, your path to death is here. Chapter 97. Defei. Next time, let us see the skills of city women. You guys get lost. For the sake of Brother Dongqing, I'll let you off today. Please tell Brother Chung that we are all from the same village, and the grievances in the village can only be resolved in the village. Outside, the most important thing is unity. You can't write Tuchin characters in one stroke. Shundong sighed and shook his head. After hearing Shundong's words, this group of people ran away in fear. As for Shundong, he quietly followed them in the darkness. He wanted to see if he could follow them and find Shundongqing, then kill him at the first opportunity, sending him to the spiritual spring space to keep company with the 2 corpses lying inside. You can't write Tuchin characters in one stroke. So let Shundongqing disappear from this world. Unfortunately, before the function of the mind-viewing mirror disappeared, he did not see Shundongqing's figure. Shundongqing, I can only let you go for now. I don't believe you want to go back. When you do, I'll find a chance to take you out. Shundong thought to himself. The potential threat from Shundongqing was actually very small. If it weren't for the fact that Shundongqing once pointed a gun at him, Shundong wouldn't mind letting him off. As for the South Street 8 brothers that those punks mentioned, Shundong was not worried. He didn't believe he would waste a day's time to send someone from 200 miles away to deal with him because of a few kids. Besides, do they really think the mountain people are easy to bully? If they dared to come into the village to hit someone, it would be difficult for them to get out. He returned to the parking spot, and just as he arrived, Defei and the other 3 came back, looking quite cool with cigarettes in their mouths, from the way they walked with their legs apart. Shundong wanted to say that the 4 of them combined didn't take as long as he did. Defei and the others took Shundong to the guest house and then left on their bicycles. Before leaving, they dramatically told Shundong that next time he came to the black market, they would treat him well and find a beautiful woman for him in a half-open door so that he could learn the skills of city women. Shundong paying them to sleep with women moved them greatly. Cousin, this kid is too ruthless. All 12 of us are no match for him. And each of us got hit hard with the belt twice. Why did you run away? Also, Why didn't you tell me that he fights so fiercely? Zhang Kuan, with a long red swollen mark on his face, complained to Chen Dongqing. Looking at the red mark on Zhang Kuan's face, which perfectly split his face in half like a yin-yang face, made Chen Dongqing unable to help but laugh. I was having a stomach issue at that time, so I went to the bathroom, not running away, Chen Dongqing explained. I didn't know he was this fierce. I had never seen him fight before. I didn't expect he could fight so well. If you guys couldn't beat him with more than 10 people, should I just wait for him to come for me? He watched them deal with Chen Dong from a distance. But when he heard their screams one by one, Chen Dongqing got scared and ran away. Xiao Kuan, I have $20 here. You can buy something for everyone to make up for it. I don't have much money left, and since I booked a ticket to go home tomorrow, otherwise I would give you more. I feel bad that you all got beaten because of me. Chen Dongqing took out 2 wrinkled bills from his pocket and handed them to Zhang Kuan. Zhang Kuan took the money and nodded. Okay, I'll buy some good cigarettes for Lao Wu and the others another day. Cousin, I heard that kid talking quite openly. What kind of grudge do you have with him? He then repeated what Chen Dong said about not being able to write Tuchen characters in one stroke in the previous remarks. Upon hearing Zhang Kuan say this, Chen Dongqing couldn't believe Chen Dong would say such things. He wondered if he should apologize to Chen Dong when he got home. But then he thought, why should I apologize? When I get back, I'll find third uncle and Dong Lian to figure out a way to deal with this kid, Chen Dong. As for if he asks me about hiring someone to deal with him in the black market, I'll just say I don't know. And if he doesn't catch me in the act, what can he do to me? A night passed without incident. In the morning, Chen Dong and Air Zhuzi found Air Mao, as they were going to take the county police car back today. When Chen Dong returned to the guest house at midnight, Air Zhuzi was sleeping soundly. Chen Dong called him a few times, but Air Zhuzi didn't move at all. This silly kid wouldn't know if someone sold him if he went out alone. Xiao Wu, you guys aren't in a hurry to go back, right? Lin Hongxing said she needed to buy some things for Director Lin at the Supply and Marketing Cooperative in the city. Director Lin instructed her to buy some things from the city's Supply and Marketing Cooperative to take back. While they were having breakfast in the guesthouse restaurant, Air Mao said to Chen Dong. Chen Dong nodded, took a bite of the fragrant oil stick, and smiled. No problem, we can wait for her. Breakfast was simple. 3 pounds of oil sticks, a few big meat buns, and some fried dough twists, plus salty tofu brain topped with garlic paste. It had been a long time since he had this, and eating it again made his mouth water. However, yu qiao, fried dough sticks, and meat buns are mostly eaten by Air Zhuzi. This silly boy has quite the appetite. The meal tickets provided by the Public Security Bureau for Chen Dong are naturally not enough for Air Zhuzi to indulge himself. However, Air Mao, with his identity as a police officer, has borrowed quite a bit from the canteen at the guest house. After finishing the meal, I went with him to the Supply and Marketing Cooperative to buy some things for my wife, Wanxin, and Honglian. The items at the Municipal Supply and Marketing Cooperative have many more varieties than those in our county. Chen Dong thought for a moment and then said, it's settled then. After finishing breakfast, Chen Dong and the others followed Air Mao to the Municipal Supply and Marketing Cooperative. The Municipal Supply and Marketing Cooperative is much larger, with each floor being over 1,000 square meters, and the 6-story building is filled with goods. Unlike the County Supply and Marketing Cooperative, where various tickets are needed to purchase many items, most items at the Municipal Supply and Marketing Cooperative are available without tickets. Chen Dong bought each of the 3 women a nice dress and a pair of pretty summer sandals, as well as several new styles of fabric, planning to show off his skills by making a few outfits when he got home. In addition, he bought some candies, pastries, and a pack of better cigarettes. He certainly didn't forget to buy things for his parents. He also bought some items for Air Zhuzi. He couldn't let him follow for free. All the items added up to over 200 yuan. The main expense was the clothes and shoes, which were really expensive. He and Air Zhuzi waited outside the Supply and Marketing Cooperative for Air Mao and Lin Hongxing. Just as they were waiting, more than 10 bicycles rode swiftly over. And when Chen Dong saw the people on the bicycles, his heart sank, for these were the few people he had hit with a belt the night before. Chapter 98. Zhuzi, don't be anxious, just watch how I show them. Seeing more than 10 bicycles stop not far from them, with several people among them being those he had hit with the belt, Chen Dong felt a sense of foreboding. He turned to grab Air Zhuzi to run. But upon turning, he saw 7 or 8 bicycles stop from another direction, with more than 20 people getting off, surrounding their escape route. Combined with the 30 or so people coming from the front, there were more than 50 people in total. Chen Dong felt a bit nervous but managed to calm himself and whispered, Zhuzi, put the things on the ground for now. In a bit, listen to me. If I tell you to hit, grab someone and throw them toward the crowd. Grab one and throw one. Stay back to back with me and don't rush out. Okay. When I shout to charge together, we run toward the police car. He had to remind Air Juzi. Otherwise, if Air Juzi didn't know how to control his strength, he could accidentally kill someone. Shandong had no doubt about that. With Air Juzi's brute strength, it was normal for him to punch someone's head off if he used all his strength. Therefore, he needed to explain things to Air Juzi properly. If he had a handgun, it would be great. He could threaten them with it. In this era, gun control wasn't too strict. As long as it wasn't too intentional harm, even holding a gun outside wasn't too much of a problem. However, he couldn't be carrying a Type 56 rifle or a Mosin-Nagant all day. Right now, the Type 56 and Mosin-Nagant were in the Linquan space, so he couldn't take them out. He pretended to grab something at his waist, and then the 65-style belt was in his hand. Why did he use the belt? Because it could be worn as a belt and used as a self-defense tool, and being hit by the belt was quite painful, especially when using the iron-headed end of the belt. Swinging it at someone felt like a small meteor hammer with explosive damage. The most important point was that if someone got hurt or even killed when the police questioned him, he could claim that the belt was just a waist belt he wore, and he used it in a moment of desperation. Shandong, who had studied criminal law in his past life, knew how to navigate the laws of this era and under what circumstances, even if the law was triggered, the penalties would be lighter. Without a bit of wits, one would struggle to get by in this era. He didn't plan to confront so many people head-on. He wanted to see if he could delay them for a while. If not, he would think of a way to run toward the police car. He couldn't believe these people would dare to fight near a police car. After all, this era had strict crackdowns. Anyone who dared to fight near a police car would definitely be heavily sentenced, even facing gunfire. To put it bluntly, fighting in front of the police was nothing short of a death wish. In this era, the police would love to hand out heavy sentences. Catching more serious criminals was a merit for the police. After hearing Shandong's words, Air Juzi placed the bag of items on the ground, his big eyes staring at the encroaching crowd, and buzzed. Fifth brother, I understand. Do they want to hit us? Shandong nodded quietly. Yes, they want to hit us. Are you scared? Air Juzi grinned. Not scared, I want to fight them. Shandong thought, this silly boy's mind is different from others. The 50 or so people surrounded Shandong and Air Juzi, with the two of them back to back, watching the crowd in front. Many of these people were holding wooden sticks, steel pipes, iron chains, and even watermelon knives, various weapons of all kinds. Nangu, this is the kid who beat us up last night, said a man with a red mark across his face, pointing at Shandong coldly. The man called Nangu was about 185 meters tall, with long, center-parted hair, around 30 years old, wearing a blue denim vest, and holding a baseball bat. Nangu tapped the baseball bat in his palm and looked at Shandong with a slight smirk, saying, Buddy, you can fight. Yesterday, more than 10 of my brothers were disfigured by you, screaming in pain. Shandong replied, Brother, are you talking about the place next to the guest house where we watched dancing? If that's the case, I did indeed fight more than 10 people last night. However, they were the ones looking for trouble, and I was just forced to fight back. Looking at several people with red marks on their faces, Shandong thought it was somewhat amusing. He really wanted to say that their disfigurement was equivalent to cosmetic surgery. How did these people know he was at the supply and marketing cooperative? If nothing went wrong, it should be that the people he fought had come to this cooperative to buy things and then saw him, leading them to gather their friends. Nangu snorted coldly. I don't care if they were looking for trouble first, but since you made them suffer so much, I have to teach you a lesson. After he finished speaking, the crowd began to stir, ready to move in. My brothers are police officers. I was just accompanying them to buy things at the supply and marketing cooperative. Since I injured them, how about I take out 200 yuan as compensation? Shandong quickly pulled out a wad of cash from his pocket, speaking in a negotiating tone. He first revealed that Air Mao was a police officer to gauge their reaction and then used the money as bait to attract them. He deliberately took out a lot of money to entice them. As long as they were tempted by the money, Shandong could pin a serious charge on them, or if they dared to make a move to rob him of his money. The nature of this matter has changed. Don't blame Shandong for being ruthless. With so many of them wanting to beat him, isn't that being ruthless? Brothers, hold on. Nangu, seeing the stack of money in Shandong's hand, quickly raised his baseball bat and shouted. While speaking, his eyes were fixed on the money in Shandong's hand, greed clearly visible on his face. Shandong secretly smiled. As long as you covet my wealth, this matter can be settled. You want my money? Do you think it's that easy? So, in times of trouble, don't panic. If you can delay, then delay. If you can avoid a fight, then avoid it. Sometimes dealing with people relies not on brute force, but on brains. Very few small-time thugs in society are indifferent to money. Hey, don't scare me. Your buddy is still in the police, right? Don't think I don't know your background. Aren't you just a hunter from a place called Chunlutang in Shana County? Don't try to play tricks on me. Otherwise, I'll bring my brothers to your village to deal with you. And don't blame me for taking your family along too. If you want to compensate my brothers, we can move on from this. But 200 yuan is just pocket change. Nengu huffed impatiently. Shindong spoke in a negotiating tone. Bro, is 200 yuan really not enough? 200 yuan is already a lot. You dare threaten me with my family. You're courting death. You want money, fine. I'll give you the over 1,000 yuan I have on hand. In this day and age, robbing a few dozen yuan can get you shot. To have over 1,000 yuan robbed from you in front of so many people, you're already destined to be shot. 200 yuan isn't even enough for my brother's injuries. Kid, have you heard the saying, spending money to avoid disaster? If you don't pay up properly today, I'll make sure you can't leave here in one piece, Nengu threatened viciously. Don't blame my brothers for being ruthless. You son of ABTCH. Fifth brother wants me to deal with them. Air Zhuzi's eyes widened like copper bells, bloodshot and full of fury, his whole demeanor resembling an enraged bull. Shindong quickly pulled on Air Zhuzi's arm and whispered, Zhuzi, calm down, calm down. Just watch how I show them. Chapter 99. Set a trap to let them rob the money, and then beat them up. I say, bro, your little brother is quite stubborn. I think he hasn't been beaten enough. He's asking for it. How dare he fight back against us? I think he doesn't even know how to write the word death. Nengu said coldly. After Shindong calmed him down, Air Zhuzi became much calmer. If it weren't for Shindong holding him back, he probably would have charged into fight. His eyes were already turning red. Shindong had seen many people in his past life and heard about a type of person who easily loses their temper in a fight, like a bull that has been provoked. Once they get carried away, it's hard to stop them, especially when blood is drawn. The more blood, the more enraged they become. Bloodshot eyes are a clear characteristic of such people. A few years ago, Air Zhuzi went hunting in the mountains, encountered a wild boar pack, and killed several boars with an iron rod. Later, when the rod slipped from his hands, he barehandedly killed 2 more. His body was bitten in several places by the boars, but while fighting them, it seemed he felt no pain at all. In the village, hardly anyone dared to provoke Air Zhuzi. At most, they would joke around, but if they angered him, it could end badly. My little brother hasn't seen much of the world. I hope this guy and all his brothers won't mind. By the way, how much do you plan to ask me for compensation? After calming Air Zhuzi, Shindong asked. He thought to himself, I have to hold back this bull, or else if he really goes crazy, many of you will suffer. How about this? You injured 12 of my brothers. Each of you pays 5 to 100. And today this matter will be settled. If it's not 1,200 yuan, this matter won't end. Then don't blame us for being ruthless. Nengu quickly changed his tone with ill intentions when it came to money. Seeing the thick wad of cash in Shindong's hand, his heart was itching. He thought about how much money was about to be in his hands, and he couldn't hide his excitement. He never expected that Shindong, just a country hunter, would have so much money. Initially, he was just going to have his brothers beat him up, but now that there was money involved, whether to beat him or not didn't matter. As for his brothers, upon hearing Nengu ask Shindong for compensation, their faces were also unable to hide their greed. 1,200 yuan. That was a huge sum, although a large part of it would definitely go to Nengu. Those who were beaten by Shindong would also get a share, but those who came along would definitely get something. Yes, each of them must be compensated 100. If you beat our brothers and don't want to compensate, then don't blame us for dealing with you ruthlessly. Kid, you better be sensible and hand over the money, or else don't blame us for being impolite. These little brothers all chimed in to threaten Shindong. Shindong pretended to be flustered and said, Bro, can't you not ask for so much money? Asking me for so much makes you no different from robbers. You can't be doing this on purpose, right? Yesterday, you caused me trouble, and now you're pretending to be unable to beat me, and today are deliberately extorting me? Nengu said viciously, What if we are? Anyway, you beat my brother, and today you must pay this money. If you don't pay, then don't blame me for robbing you. Lao Lu, go over there and take all the money from him for our brother's medical fees. As for the extra money, consider it our running expenses. Nengu pointed his baseball bat at Shindong and said impatiently, Kid, I gave you a chance. It was only 1,200 at first, but since you didn't cooperate, don't blame me for robbing you. A big-faced man called Lao Lu, summoned by Nengu, stepped up to Shindong. directly grabbing his hand and snatching the wad of cash from him. Hand it over. Hee hee. You guys taking my money now is just a death sentence for you. He set a trap step by step, allowing them to rob him in public. By robbing him, they would solidify their crime of robbery in front of everyone. As for the money they took, it didn't matter. As long as he could hold on to one person and send them to the police station, he would be able to have them all arrested, and then the money would naturally return to him. Of course, if that over 1,000 yuan couldn't be retrieved, Shindong wouldn't be heartbroken. Being able to send so many threats to jail would be a huge gain for him. Just over 1,000 yuan. If he wanted to earn it, it wasn't hard. Don't take my money. Don't take my money. That money is for buying medicine for my parents and my wife. Shindong pretended to be extremely flustered and stepped forward, but was blocked by two people who forcefully pushed him back. This scene made the onlookers around shake their heads and sigh, with some showing anger in their eyes. So many people were surrounding them. Robbing him of money meant to save his parents and wife. It was truly infuriating. In their hearts, they secretly cursed Nangu and the group of thugs to the 18th generation of their ancestors. Lao Lu handed a stack of money he had snatched to Nangu, grinning with pride as he said, "Nangu, here is some money for you. I have to say, this kid has quite a bit of cash." After receiving the stack of money, Nangu's eyes squinted with joy, completely losing his rationality in the presence of money. His mind was filled with thoughts of cash. Aside from compensating those people, the extra money would be shared among everyone later. Shindong shouted loudly, gripping a weapon belt and charging forward. "You stole my money. I'm going to fight you to the death. Juzi, go hard on them. Break their arms and legs." Shindong clearly instructed Juzi, making sure he understood. Fearing Juzi might decapitate someone instead, plans changed unexpectedly. Initially, Shindong intended to run away. However, while showing off his skills, he had the thought of taking the opportunity to strike back. The main reason was that he saw Mao and Lin Hongxing approaching from not far away. With those two police officers backing him up, they could just go for it. After receiving Shindong's command, Juzi sprang into action like a tiger freed from its cage, grabbing a man's arm in front of him. With a forceful twist, crack, the man's arm broke. Following that, Juzi delivered a heavy kick to the man's calf. Crack, the man's leg broke. To Juzi, the man's limbs felt as fragile as paper. With his arms and legs broken, the man let out a scream like a slaughtered pig, leaving Nangu and his gang momentarily stunned. Meanwhile, Shindong swung the weapon belt directly at the faces of two people, causing them to clutch their faces and scream in pain. Just then, Mao rushed over, and upon seeing Shindong and Juzi surrounded by that group, he yelled, "You all better raise your hands. I'm a police officer." Chapter 100. A watermelon knife lunges at Mao. Can his fate be changed? Mao shout that he was a police officer only stunned a few nearby punks for a moment. Once they reacted, they immediately surrounded him, swinging wooden sticks and metal pipes at him. "You're a police officer? I'm a big leader. If you're a police officer, then I'm the head of the court. Kid, you're meddling in others' business. You're asking to die?" Thinking Mao was poking his nose where it didn't belong, the punks cursed at him before swinging their weapons. Mao reacted quickly, covering his head, and yelled, "I really am a police officer. You dare hit a police officer? You're asking for trouble." It wasn't that the punks ignored his identity. They were attacking him because he was dressed in plain clothes, not a police uniform. If he had been in uniform, they certainly wouldn't have dared to act recklessly. While he was covering his head, Lin Hongxing rushed over from the side, wielding a wooden stick she had snatched from a punk. Without saying a word, she swung it at the punks surrounding Mao. Compared to these punks, Lin Hongxing, trained since childhood, was quite capable. The wooden stick seemed to leave afterimages as it struck the punks, causing them to cry out in pain and lose their fighting ability in no time. "Stop! Stop! We are really police officers. If you don't stop, you will face severe legal consequences." After knocking down several punks, Lin Hongxing shouted sternly, then handed the wooden stick she had taken to Mao. With his hands in immense pain, Mao grabbed the stick and shouted fiercely, "I've warned you. We are police. If you dare to make a move again, you'll be lining up to get shot. Juzi, go protect your brother Mao. Don't let anyone get close to him. Whoever dares to approach, break their arms and legs." Using the weapon belt with the iron buckle, he struck several people in the chest, causing them to fall to the ground, screaming like slaughtered pigs. The segment of the weapon belt with the iron buckle struck with such force that breaking a few ribs was no issue at all. The reason Shindong was shouting for Juzi to protect Mao was that after Mao and Lin Hongxing arrived, Chen Dong used the ability of the Rui Pearl to check what events would trigger Mao's emotional threshold in the next 3 days. The function of the mind mirror had been used that night and had not refreshed. So he could only use the Rui Pearl to see if there would be any unexpected incidents during this fight. Given his and Mao's relationship, their friendliness might reach a level that the Rui Pearl could recognize. After observing the events that would trigger Mao's emotional threshold through the Rui Pearl, Chen Dong couldn't help but gasp in shock. Because during this fight, Mao would be stabbed in the stomach by a punk with a watermelon knife. Shortly after being taken to the hospital, he would die. How could this not shock Chen Dong? Therefore, to prevent such a tragedy, Chen Dong had to stop the fight. First, he let Zhu Zi, this fierce man, protect Mao. As for Chen Dong, he would subdue Nango. The principle of capture the leader first was something he understood. From the images of the events that would trigger Mao's emotional threshold in the next 3 days. He was astonished to see Zhu Zi using both hands and feet to break many punks' limbs, marveling at Zhu Zi's ferocity. In that vision, Chen Dong saw that despite Zhu Zi's large size, he was surprisingly agile, dodging the sticks swung at him. This was clearly a natural instinct. Although Zhu Zi wasn't very smart, God had closed one door while opening several others for him. His sense of smell, strength, and combat instincts were extraordinary, and he could even enter a berserk state. In ancient times, he would have been like Li Yuanba or Luo Shixin reincarnated. After receiving Chen Dong's order, Zhu Zi dodged a steel pipe swung at him, then grabbed the man's arm with a reverse grip. With a powerful twist, the man's arm broke. Then, he delivered a heavy kick to the man's leg. With a cracking sound, the man's leg broke. Next, as Zhu Zi charged towards Mao, he incapacitated 3 more punks' limbs. The sticks swung at him were instinctively dodged. He stood like a small mountain, protecting Mao. When someone swung a steel pipe at Mao, Zhu Zi grabbed it with one hand and then struck the person's arm with a hand chop. Crack! The sound of the person's arm breaking was heard. And before he could scream, Zhu Zi kicked his leg. That leg also broke. The man fell to the ground, rolling and screaming like a slaughtered pig. Damn, Zhu Zi. You're too fierce. Mao looked at the few people who were originally surrounding him. After Zhu Zi incapacitated 2 of them, they were so scared they didn't dare to approach. Looking at the more than 10 people lying on the ground with seemingly broken limbs, all done by Zhu Zi, Mao was stunned. This was simply like Lu Bu reincarnated. Zhu Zi, use the steel pipe to hit them. It's easier than using your hands. Mao stood behind Zhu Zi, feeling quite secure as he directed him. Zhu Zi scratched his head and smiled foolishly. Fifth brother didn't let me use anything to hit them. I can take care of them with my fists and feet. Hee. No one dared to step forward near Mao. But Lin Hongxing was fighting with a few people while holding a wooden stick. She remained silent as she fought, moving her body skillfully while swinging the stick at these men. She had taken several hits, especially on her forehead, where she was struck and blood began to flow, staining her white shirt and making it look gruesome. Zhu Zi, go help your sister Lin. Mao shouted loudly when he saw Lin Hongxing was injured on her forehead. Zhu Zi replied, my 5th brother said to protect you, not to protect sister Lin. Mao was speechless. This foolish Zhu Zi didn't understand how to cherish a lady at all. He quickly walked toward Lin Hongxing. At that moment, Chen Dong had already rushed in front of Nango. First, he hit him on the head with a belt, then stepped forward to grab one of his arms, wrapping the belt around his neck and coldly saying, tell your brothers to stop, or I will strangle you. While speaking, he tightened the grip on the belt, causing Nango, who had just received a hit to the head and was already in pain, to struggle for breath and turn red in the face. He quickly trembled and said, Big brother, please spare me. Stop. All of you, stop it right now. If you keep fighting, do you want to get shot? Nango shouted loudly to his subordinates. After Nanji's command, his men all stopped. However, one man who was attacking Lin Hongxing, seeing his brother knocked unconscious by her, angrily picked up a discarded watermelon knife and stabbed it toward Lin Hongxing's back. Bitch, I'll stab you to death, he shouted viciously. Hearing his shout, Lin Hongxing realized something was wrong and turned around, only to see a figure blocking her. It was Mao. She watched as the knife meant for her struck Mao instead. Chen Dong also saw someone stab Mao with the watermelon knife, which made his heart skip a beat. Mao's fate seemed unchangeable. However, when he saw a tall figure grabbing the knife with his bare hands, he let out a sigh of relief. The person who caught the knife was Zhu Zi, who he had called over to protect Mao. After firmly grasping the watermelon knife, Zhu Zi immediately kicked the attacker's leg hard. The man fell to the ground with a thud, howling in pain while clutching his leg. Then Zhuzi, being the iron-headed fool he was, took a step forward and stomped down on the man's arm. The man's arm broke. Mao, are you okay? Zhuzi looked up and asked Mao with a silly expression. Blood was flowing from his right hand, which was grasping the knife. But he seemed not to feel any pain. Mao quickly walked in front of Zhuzi, anxious as he asked, Zhuzi, is your hand all right? At that moment, he was sweating profusely, recalling how just moments ago the knife was less than 5 centimeters from his chest, reflecting a cold glint. He had even subconsciously thought about the consequences of being stabbed. But Zhuzi had caught the blade barehanded. This was equivalent to saving his life. Thinking of this made Mao feel a lingering fear. I'm fine. Zhuzi shook his head like a rattle. Mao patted his shoulder and said, Zhuzi, you saved my life. I must thank you properly in the future and introduce you to a beautiful wife. Zhuzi scratched his head and nodded with a silly grin. Fifth brother said to protect you, and he also said to introduce me to a wife later. Mao laughed, you're a wife lover. Then I'll get you 2 wives. Hearing this, Zhuzi's eyes lit up, and he nodded vigorously, grinning. All right, The group of thugs, upon seeing Nangu subdued by Qindong, no longer dared to move, mainly because they were intimidated by Zhuzi, who was known for breaking arms and legs. Whenever they encountered Zhuzi, it was like receiving a package of broken limbs, which was too scary. On Qindong's side, seeing that Mao was fine and saved by Zhuzi, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. Thankfully, Zhuzi had changed Mao's fate. Of course, compared to his previous life, Mao's fate had already changed because Qindong had provided him with the clue about a major criminal, leading to Mao achieving great merit and being recruited by the police in advance. His fate had already changed. However, what the future held was still unknown to Qindong. Just like today, if it weren't for him using the Rui Pearl's ability to observe Mao's situation, Mao would have been dead. It can only be said that no one knows how danger and accidents will manifest. If we trace it back, if Mao had really died this time, Qindong would be the catalyst for this incident. Because if he hadn't fought with those people last night and hadn't wanted to show off today, leading to Mao being put in danger, perhaps it wouldn't have happened. However, Qindong could not predict when danger and accidents would arise. So, no internal strife. If Mao chooses to be a cop, it is destined to come with dangers that ordinary people do not face. Guoli, are you okay? Lin Hongxing walked in front of Mao and asked. Mao shook his head. I'm fine. I almost got stabbed by that guy. Luckily Zhuzi saved me. Sister Lin, your forehead is injured. You should go to the hospital. Lin Hongxing dismissed it. It's nothing serious, just a small injury. Thinking of how Mao had stepped up to protect her, warmth spread in her heart. If Mao hadn't stepped up, Zhuzi, who was a bit slow-witted, wouldn't have taken the initiative to save her. She would have definitely been stabbed. Although Lin Hongxing found Mao quite annoying, his personality was too jumpy, full of foul language, and he acted like a little thug. Smooth talking, she thought she should treat him better in the future for stepping up to save her today. How is it not serious? You have a scar on your face. It will be hard for you to find a wife later. Mao quickly shook his head. Lin Hongxing huffed. You don't need to worry about that. Mao cheekily replied, I definitely can't take care of your marriage issues. I just think we're colleagues. Watching the exchange between Mao and Lin Hongxing, Qindong thought to himself, this fool Mao, he can't say a single good word. He is destined to be single. Don't move. Everyone raise your hands. Don't move. 2 policemen rushed over, shouting loudly. Bang! To serve as a warning, one of the leading policemen fired a shot into the air. The shooter was Mao's brother-in-law, Jiang Aigua, along with another policeman who came to do business in the black market. They were both wearing police uniforms. Originally, they were waiting in a van for Lin Hongxing and the others to finish shopping at the supply and marketing cooperative so they could head back to the black market together. However, when a bystander knocked on their police car and said that a robbery was happening on the street, they quickly rushed over. Upon seeing the police arrive, the thugs were even more afraid to move. Guoli, what is going on here? Jiang Aigua asked, pointing his gun at the sky, seeing Lin Hongxing bleeding from her forehead. He quickly asked, Xiao Lin, you're injured. Hurry and go to the hospital. Jiang Aigua was feeling overwhelmed. He took the director's daughter to the city to investigate the case files. It was supposed to be a calm and stable task, but Lin Hongxing was injured now. After returning, how was he going to explain this to Director Lin? Captain Jiang, I'm fine, I just bumped my head, Lin Hongxing said. Mao said, brother-in-law Captain Jiang. I don't know the specifics, but when we arrived, I saw dozens of them surrounding Xiao Wu and Zhuzi fighting. I told them to stop, that we are the police, but they still kept attacking, even hitting us. Xiao Wu, you explain what happened. He also didn't know why those people were fighting Chen Dong and the others. Upon hearing that Mao was indeed a policeman, those thugs were dumbfounded. Especially Nangu, who was being choked by Chen Dong with a belt, felt his legs go weak and his head spin. They attacked the police. This is serious. Captain Jiang. More than 10 of them wanted to beat me last night, and I fought them off. Today, they came to me, demanding compensation, extorting a large amount of money. And in front of many people, they robbed me of over 500 yuan. Moreover, they openly said they were robbing me. I suspect that those more than 10 people pretended not to be my match, got beaten by me, and then wanted to set a trap to extort money from me. Chen Dong quickly summarized the situation. Naturally, he omitted the part about setting them up, and Nangu and the other thugs certainly wouldn't think that he had set a trap for them. Robbery, assaulting the police, extortion, each of these is a serious crime punishable by death. Nangu was so scared he dropped to his knees, his expression in utter panic, saying, "Comrade police, listen to me, we didn't extort him. I just wanted some compensation because my friends were beaten by him." Chen Dong replied, "It was your friends who attacked me first. I said I would give you 200 yuan as compensation. I didn't want to escalate the situation. You opened your mouth and asked for 100 yuan per person. Not only that, you also had people come forward and rob me of all my money." Nan Ji's face turned pale as he stuttered, I. For a moment, he was speechless, because what Chen Dong said was indeed true. He did intend to give 200 yuan as compensation, and he indeed asked for 100 yuan per person. Then, he also had people rob Chen Dong of all his money. Plus, his brothers had surrounded and attacked the police, intending to stab them. Each of these was a serious crime punishable by death. Thinking of this, Nangu grew more and more anxious. His breathing quickened. His head went black, and he fainted from fear. Soon, more police arrived, and after learning the whole story, they took all these people to the police station for questioning. However, what shocked and gave the police a headache was that 15 of the thugs had broken bones. The person responsible for this was none other than the seemingly simple-minded big guy, Zhuzi. This made many police officers gasp in shock. Quickly, in the police station, the investigation of Chen Dong and Zhuzi was completed. The case was straightforward and clear, with no complicated aspects. As Chen Dong and Zhuzi just walked out of the interrogation room, they were met by a man in his 30s, wearing gold-rimmed glasses and looking very refined. Chen Dong found this man somewhat familiar and quickly remembered who he was, Zhou Anlin. This man was named Zhou Anlin. In his past life, Chen Dong knew him from doing business in the black market, having had contact with him. After the opening of individual operations, he was a powerful boss in the black market, involved in multiple industries, including clothing. At first, Chen Dong relied on him to establish himself in the black market clothing business. He was kind, charitable, well-connected, and willing to help others, making him a benefactor to Chen Dong. In social circles, he was a well-respected figure. However, in 1985, he was arrested and quickly sentenced to death. According to what Chen Dong heard from friends, he was a middleman for Russian spies, having recruited many businessmen and high-ranking officials in government departments. Among them, the deputy chairperson of the black market agency was one of those he had dragged into espionage. While he appeared friendly, he secretly assigned killers and set traps for many, including high-ranking officials. At that time, he had helped many businessmen by mediating conflicts between them and their competitors. But after he was captured, it was revealed that several businessmen who often caused trouble in the black market were actually his accomplices. They played good cop and bad cop in business, relying on this tactic to win people over. It can be said that business people's hearts are not something ordinary people can imagine. The reason Chen Dong was not drawn in by him might be that he was just a small fry when he started out and didn't attract his attention. Comrade Chen Dong, hello, I'm Zhou Anlin. I'm currently cooperating with the Black Market Investment Department, doing port business at the border. Zhou Anlin is my useless little cousin. Usually, he just messes around and gets into trouble, but I didn't expect him to do something so foolish today. I'm here to apologize to you, Zhou Anlin said, slightly bowing and clasping his fists to Chen Dong. Chen Dong waved his hand angrily and said, Boss Zhou, this is not just a matter of apology. So many people wanted to beat me yesterday, and today they came again with so many people to rob my money in public. Can this be settled with just an apology? If it weren't for me and my brothers being good at hunting, we would have been in trouble. Initially, he thought about being polite, but then he realized that he was in the position of being robbed, and as a rural hunter, If he acted too formal and polite, it would raise Zhou Anlin's suspicions. So he decided to act like a normal rural person who had been bullied. It was better to keep a distance from this old fox. He had ties to the spy middleman and knew many ruthless spies. He should not be able to detect his trap against Nangu and the other thugs. After all, his trap was quite open. Seeing so many people scared and willing to offer compensation was reasonable. In a panic, he took out so much money. That was also reasonable. And Nangu and their gang, seeing money, opened their mouths wide. That was reasonable. As for their attack on the police, he had already mentioned that his buddies were police. That was reasonable. Brother, I know my brother did something very wrong, so I'm sincerely apologizing to you. To show my sincerity, here are 3,000 yuan as my apology for them to you. Please sign a letter of understanding in front of the police. His parents were in poor health, and he had 2 younger siblings to take care of. If this matter was classified, the consequences would be severe, even leading to a death sentence. I know what he did is excessive, but please, brother, show mercy. In the future, we will be friends. The more friends, the more paths. I have some connections and know some influential figures in Shanghai County. If you encounter any issues in the future, you can come to me or ask my friends for help. Zhou Anlin took out a thick envelope from his pocket and said seriously. Chen Dong deliberately looked at the envelope in his hand, showing a look of excitement on his face. Then turned to Heir Zhuzi beside him and said in a negotiating tone, Zhuzi, should we nod and sign a letter of forgiveness? Heir Zhuzi scratched his head and asked foolishly, what letter of forgiveness, fifth brother? Chen Dong replied, it's just that those people who wanted to hit us earlier, should we forgive them? Heir Zhuzi's eyes widened, buzzing with confusion and disbelief. But fifth brother, didn't we hit them? Shouldn't we apologize? My dad said that if you hurt others, you'd be taken by the police. The police said they wouldn't arrest me for hurting so many of them. They were robbing your money, so it was justified. But shouldn't I apologize? This fool. However, his normal foolishness perfectly matched his act. Perfect. Meanwhile, Heir Zhuzi thought that since he hurt so many people and the police didn't arrest him, shouldn't he apologize to them? Chen Dong shook his head at Zhou Anlin and said, Boss Zhou, my brother is a bit, according to what you said, your cousin is indeed quite pitiful. If something happens to him, how will his parents and younger siblings get by? Chen Dong sighed and shook his head. Then he looked troubled and said, Boss Zhou, your cousin's matter can't just be resolved by us signing a letter of forgiveness, right? The police won't let it go that easily. Zhou Anlin said, you two can sign the letter of forgiveness, and as for the police, I'll find some connections. It should be fine. At least it won't let my useless brother get shot. After hearing Zhou Anlin's words, Chen Dong grinned and said, that's good. My brother and I can sign the letter of forgiveness. We aren't doing it for the money, but because we feel sorry for his parents and younger siblings. They need him to take care of them. His younger brother, Zhou Anan, is probably just a pawn collecting information in his hands. Zhou Anan probably doesn't even realize that he has become a spy accomplice just by mingling in society. Zhou Anlin nodded. Understood, understood. Thank you for your kindness, brothers. I'll leave you a business card. If you need anything in the future, you can call me. Saying this, he handed a stiff business card to Chen Dong, while also handing over the thick envelope filled with money. Chen Dong put the business card in his pocket and then, in front of Zhou Anlin, opened the envelope, revealing 3 stacks of new bills. He then counted the money while pretending to be shy and smiled at Zhou Anlin. Boss Zhou, I see this money is quite heartfelt. So I'm checking if there are consecutive numbers. Zhou Anlin chuckled. This is money I just withdrew from the bank. It should be in consecutive numbers. While speaking, the disdain in his eyes was hard to conceal. Just a brute with no brains. The money was counted. Exactly 300 bills, 3,000 yuan. Boss Zhou, when shall we sign the letter of forgiveness? Chen Dong stuffed the money into his pocket and asked with a smile. People spend money to resolve disasters. And they hit someone but can still receive so much money. Chen Dong thought it was quite delightful. He had to take this money. If he didn't, it would raise suspicions from this old silver coin. Chapter